Meeting of the Budget Finance Investment Committee. I hope everybody got a chance to review the minutes, and if so, we'll entertain a motion on those.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Sir.
Mr. Jernigan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 2 is the ambulance service amendment that we, for just a second, gentlemen, that we deferred from last month, but we're going to move Commissioner Beatty, Trustee Beatty up. Just take a second. And he's got a little girl who doesn't feel good, and we're going to let him do his report real fast, get him out of the room.
Thank you.
We're going to take care of that tonight. She doesn't feel good.
We're gonna bring the flu to all of us.
I don't, we're not running a fever, just office stopped up, so thank you.
We'll be right back to you, gentlemen. I apologize for that.
Learn from that.
Mr. Beatty.
Don't accuse me of using my children, guys, please.
I'm just keeping Mac from planning that next time.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Before I give this investment report, if I could remind everyone that county property taxes are due without penalty by February the 28th of this month. We're in Smyrna Monday through Friday through the rest of February, 8 to 4, and she goes to lunch from 12:30 to 1. So usually we're there 3 days a week. We'll be there 5 days a week through the end of February. We're in this office 8 to 4:30 every day and through lunch. And you can also check taxes or pay online at rctrustee.com. You can pay with a credit card. There is a 2.2% convenience fee, but if you want to use an e-check, it just costs 50 cents, and you can do that online. It's as cheap as postage, so just let everybody know that. If you have any questions, call us 898-7705. To investments, we did not have a bid this month. Our LGIP rate went up to 48 basis points, which puts our effective rate at 74 basis points. But I can tell you, we did have a bid this week that I'll report next week. You know, all summer we've run about 3 institutions bidding. We had 9 bids on Tuesday, and they were better and just a lot more interest, which was really, really great, because it had been, we had 3, and then we had 1 for 4, 1 for 5, and we jumped to 9. So we're appreciative of the financial institutions, and there seems to be more interest in our funds. But that's my report, sir.
Any questions, Mr. Beatty?
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner P. Commissioner Kaplan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Taylor and I thank you.
Very much. I hope Taylor gets feeling better. Now we'll call the ambulance guys back up. We apologize for that.
Sonny's right.
And Sonny.
And Ms. Henry.
Here's some additional paperwork.
That's something.
I'm not passing out
I didn't
anything.
keep one for me.
No, I'm not passing out.
She's not passing out anything.
Here, I've got one with the chair.
What he's just passed out is a one-page summary of iterations and discussions that have been ongoing for since the last budget meeting, you might say. So Sonia and Joe and Randy and Mike had a little bit of an accident, so he's not here with us tonight. So have spent a substantial amount of time iterating on and evaluating and reviewing all the options that might be available, and they've got this down to one piece of paper. So Mr. Hafner, you might tell them and what we're talking about doing here. And we all have come to a basic agreement that this is a good process that we're going to undertake here, and a necessary process.
It's really just a summary page of everything that we did. There's a survey, a salary survey in the first part, and it compares us to some of the surrounding counties. We left Metro out of it, just simply because it normally seems to be an outlier. And then I just put down there what our pay is, and then what the recommendations were. The bottom part is just, I just copied and pasted off the summary page of the budget sheet that had the payroll on it. And that's the breakdown of what we're talking about as far as the way of money for this fiscal year. There's only 21 weeks left in the fiscal year. So the total cost with the benefits and the amendment that we're asking for now is $150,000. And then, of course, the box below that just describes what impact it would have on the budget next year. And that includes all it includes is a step raise. Anybody that was due a step, there's no cost of living adjustment to that. So that's what the impact of the budget will be next year, just for the whole year, if everybody gets the step as warranted. The increase is described as a movement of the EMTs up 3 pay grades and the paramedics up 3 pay grades as well.
Approximately how many positions is this affecting? I know we had that number last month, and I apologize.
There's 29 EMTs and there are 55 paramedic ones.
On this cost comparison that we're looking at, for instance, Wilson is $39, almost $40,000, and starting EMT and ours is 31. It's almost, what, 9,000, close to $9,000 a year. What insurance benefits do these other counties offer? I know what our county's offering. Is that calculated into this cost, or do they have
That's just salary.
benefits?
Sonia's looked into more of the benefits. You know, we do talk about that quite a bit. We talk about the difference in benefits, but these are all just salaries. There's no benefits figured into it.
So for Wilson County, they offer the same TCRS that we do at 100%. They pay the full premium as well. And they're at 80/20 on their insurance.
Which we're working toward.
Which one was it, 8317 or 8416, something like that now.
And the rest of them,
Oh, I'm sorry. Bedford County, let me see. I don't know that they got back. Yeah, they did. Hold on. Bedford County didn't get back with me on their pension, but they just pay a flat rate monthly towards their employees' benefits, which is $454.37. They just give them that towards their benefits, and the employee pays the difference. So I'm assuming that's based on which plan that they choose, but they didn't tell me what percentage that was. Robertson County did not get back with us on the benefits. I don't think Coffee County does 5%. A couple of years ago, they went away from TCRS and went to their own in-county pension. I do know that they're in the process of trying to get back onto the TCRS, but currently they do a 5% matching. So if the employee puts in 5%, they do 5%. And their insurance is 80/20. Montgomery County they're on the pension plan with TCRS at 100%. Their insurance is 85/15. Sumner County, 100% on pension. They did not tell me their insurance premium. Cannon did not get back with us, and so those are the only ones on that list.
what are our insurance benefits per month?
Depends on which plan they choose. There's 3 different plans. I didn't bring that. 'cause I
Just an
wasn't-
average, I'm just curious.
Listen here.
What's the average, Lisa, do you know? Sorry.
For our highest enrollment right now, we have 44% participation on the HRA plan. And within that plan, we have the value to the employee. The lowest plan would be employee only, and the county contributes $422 a month for that employee, and the employee pays $0. The highest tier is employee plus family on that plan, and we're at $1,175 in county contribution. And the employee was at $48.96. And these are 2016 rates. I don't have the 17 with me, so we would be contributing even more, 6% more than that.
You might have stated it, but was there a reason why you didn't use Williamson County in those numbers too?
We did in our overall, I think we just picked the ones.
Well, we didn't look at, Franklin Fire is a fire department, they don't have ambulances.
Williamson
We didn't
County's out of
use-
the hospital.
Williamson County is owned by the hospital, they run on a private charter, and they will not discuss with us their pay. I even know people that work there, and they're not allowed to tell us. So it's really hard to get reliable information on them, because it also varies quite a bit, because they pay people individually according to what kind of education they have and what certifications they have and things like that.
And it's a private company. Of course, most private companies don't disclose their rates and stuff. And then we tried to put the individuals who were strictly EMS departments. There's other surrounding counties that have EMTs and paramedics, however, they're not strict, they may be combined with their fire, whatever, it's not a freestanding. And so we tried to do those things that weren't a firefighter EMT or a firefighter paramedic, because we just felt like that wasn't a clear picture of what we're trying to show pure EMS departments, so.
So basically, you're somewhere between $6,000 and $12,000 more a year for insurance. Just kind of average ballpark.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, Commissioner.
So somewhere in the neighborhood between $12,000 to $6,000 a year is what our insurance is offer, or
On
that
our
we
lowest
offer.
cost plan, yes, sir.
Okay. I'm, just looking at these numbers and not knowing where the others have got insurance on there, I don't know if we're in the ballpark or not. It sounds like you are, from the other people saying that they're the same as the TCRS that we are.
Very similar benefits.
Well, that's what I wanted to make sure.
I mean, there may be a percentage or so off on the insurance, but we are working towards that. That's been part of the insurance plan all along, is to move to a different rate structure.
Well, next year, as you said, how much is the step that you included in on next year? So what would just the basic cost be for the whole year for this increase?
If they get a
Well, it's
step
ju- it's
increase, it's
just a step.
$441,000.
But that's what's the step, right?
That's
One
One
step,
As
which
if it was,
With this and the
But
step.
everybody else would get that
This and the
step in the
step.
county too.
Yeah.
So that's what, I'm wanting to see how much this is actually going to cost us for a full year.
441,
That's what that number is.
that's that number.
Well, it's going to cost us a portion of that anyhow, even if we don't.
Oh.
Oh, I see what
The
you're saying.
one step
Okay.
would be a nominal amount. It's about less than
1.75% or
2% of,
something.
yeah.
Just
I
roughly,
think I
what
have.
would that?
The difference in the salary, well, without the step.
well, what it was is if we go to the 21 weeks, if you took the 21 weeks and backfilled it to 52 weeks, and then you'd know what
Yeah.
this whole thing cost, and then anything additional beyond
So
that.
it's going to
would
be about 300,000 for this increase, somewhere like that.
No, that step increase will not be even close.
No. I mean, what the actual cost, this increase that we're talking about tonight for a full year is going to be probably 310, 315,000.
No.
No, it's more like $425,000 plus the step
total was
increase.
100.
We're just
Oh,
showing
with
for
all
20
the
26.
Medicare, et cetera,
Yeah.
okay. So 150.
That's what that
300.
371,809 is, the difference between what it would have
Yeah.
been and what this is going to. And then that bottom number is what, with all the Social Security, TCRS, LTD, and Medicare in there. So all the taxes, all the benefits that we have to add
So
in.
it'll be about 375.
371 is if, what it'll be, and then anything beyond that is what the step is.
What percent of our EMT positions are unfilled right now?
Well, it changed, they just hired some.
We've hired some people recently, so we have 10 positions that are unfilled that are from the already budgeted Burton Street Station and then the 2 day crews. They're unfilled. And then we have 2 open positions right now. One became open today when a paramedic put in a resignation today. But we have 2 positions right now that are open, so 12.
12.
And how many are there total? 90?
There's 100, I guess 100 positions of the field personnel, right at
You
100.
told us you had 84 EMTs and 55 paramedics.
No, we have 29 EMTs, we have 60 paramedic 1 slots, we have 16 paramedic 2 slots. But we have 29 EMTs because 5 of the paramedic slots have EMTs in them, which is not uncommon. We'll hire an EMT in a paramedic slot because we have paramedic students. When they come out, they'll be already in a paramedic slot. So we hire EMTs to replace paramedics quite a bit.
Your vacancies are a little better this month than last month because I think your employees
We're
who are
always
all
hiring.
here,
Yeah,
most of them
they're
are out working here, heard us last month when we said we would do what was right and take care of them. We just wanted to make sure and get some numbers, and I got a feeling that some of them are waiting to see what we do before they make decisions. But we did make at least I felt like we made a commitment last month to do something. You know, so.
When was the last time we made an increase, something like this? I remember doing it, it's been a while.
Well, this substantial increase has not happened during my tenure, and I've been here going on 10 years.
The only
But
time
now
I remember is 93.
We've reclassified, some of the positions and, realigned their grades and, lived at the table 2 different times at 1% since I've been here. But at one time, this is probably the only time in my tenure that this has occurred.
About 24, almost 25 years then.
Yeah, it was 93 the last time we did anything like this.
Regardless of what we do tonight, I hope I'll task this committee, and everybody, Ms. Stevenson ought to not let us get in this position again where we're this far below everybody else. We just hate to get down, all of a sudden we've got a problem. I'd rather fix this at budget time, a little bit at a time. Of course, that's easier said than done.
I was gonna say, how would you like for me
Yeah.
to present that in the future? Because I'll be happy to tell you.
Yeah.
The table is what we try to say.
Well, that's one of the things we discussed last month are these positions the ones that are furthest out of line with the market, or are there other positions in the county like deputies or
Well, there's
firefighters? I mean, are these the positions that need attention
These are the
the
ones-
fastest?
These
or
are
there
the ones
several
with
greatest
areas?
turnover.
greatest turnover right now.
And the hardest to fill. So that's what we looked at, and during the budget process, there will be some discussion. I'm breaking out the public safety, and we've looked at the turnover. I believe last month we brought forth to you the positions with the highest turnover, if you recall that, and it appears that the public safety departments are the ones that, we look at our ambulance service. Obviously they're life-saving. We want to make sure our EMTs and paramedics are filled and that they're healthy and those type things. And then you have the correction side of it as well, and that's just as important. And it's a legal requirement of ours to make sure that we're fully staffed and they are on duty. So those are some of the positions that we have the greatest turnover.
I guess I'll just use deputies as an example, but I feel like I don't have any idea whether the EMT positions are further out of line with the market or other positions, like maybe deputies. I have no information on how other positions compare with these.
I would say that we are probably closer to patrol. I would hate to say, give you an exact, because we do have the data in, we just haven't gotten it all compiled. I know that the patrol officers, there's some that have come over, from other agencies, and look, so, we're a couple of $1,000s off from entry rates for the city of Murfreesboro for patrol. But we also give annual step increases that they don't necessarily always enjoy either. So it's kind of a wash on those. So when you start looking at these other areas, there may be other agencies that we're not considering with this group because we want to look at the pure ambulance service that might be considered in the other group because they've got, patrol officers. Those are things that will be brought
But we are
forward.
going to have to seriously, before we get through this budget cycle, we must look at law enforcement.
Corrections and
Just seems a little bit like we ought to be looking at all of these departments at once, rather than taking this amount of money and giving it to certain positions, maybe considering whether this amount of money would be spread out over all the public safety departments, if the other ones are in equally bad shape. But I don't know that. I have no information. We talked last month about getting some information on comparing these different positions, and I guess I have no idea which approach would be best.
Well, this was the pressing need, and this is really all we've had time to do, and we haven't had a good working relationship with some of the other law enforcement departments and offices to be able to really do this properly. But we are going to do that. We must do it for them.
And we have already started that process. It's just that it's not completed yet. And these were, the reason was the ones that we were in dire straits. I mean, you know, they can only work so many hours. Our PRNs were falling off, are the individuals who work part-time as needed. And so if somebody's out sick or has a vacation or they leave for other reasons, we have to make sure, you know, when we want to make sure that all of our ambulances are running, our stations are filled. And so it puts a hard burden on, you know, the administration part of it, or filling in those back spaces. But again, they can only work so many days in a row too. You want to make sure that you've got enough that you're taking care of them. So this was the area that was in dire straits, in our opinion. So
We have some openings. Once we get the openings filled and we have the PRNs, then it'll take a large workload off the people that are already here. And so it was kind of like we couldn't get out of the hole we were in as long as we couldn't recruit. And we can't really recruit when we're behind the market. So really, that's why we're in a situation I've never seen here before. And I've been here a long time. I've never seen it this hard. We've never had trouble getting people. Matter of fact, we never really worried about people leaving because we knew we always had a whole bunch of people waiting for a job. We don't have anybody waiting for a job. We've hired more people in the past 3 months than we've hired in a long time, but none of them want full-time. They want to stay full-time where they're at and want to work for us part-time because they make more money where they're at. So, I mean, we're in a situation I've never seen. So I think it may require something more than what we normally do.
We'll say about 3 years ago, we did not have stations being down because of lack of people. Now we do. Of course, I think FLNLA was passed, which comes into play in that too. But also, you know, public safety, I see every month our call volumes. And they have been increasing every year, needless to say. And, you know, we're hitting 3,000 a lot of months. Like this last month, I think it wasn't that, it was down a couple of hundred, only 28. But when you're talking, what do we have? However many stations it is now. You're talking after a while, people get to the point where they're not wanting to work the overtime because they want the time off. They get to a point where they got enough money to do what they want, at least in the short term, is what I'm saying. And I think that's something you have to consider. If you've never been in the area where there are hourly people, et cetera, if you call them that, because that's what they work at a certain set hours, is that they do get to that point where time off is more important. And that means that we're out of luck if they don't want to come in, and we can't, in the part-times that we have that don't want to go full-time or working at their other place.
And it gets dangerous too, I mean, as far as the rest and
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
And we're not only competing with other ambulance services, it's kind of a unique animal because now a lot of the large plants, you know, the Nissans of the world, the Bridgestones, you know, they're hiring EMTs and paramedics to keep them in-house as part of their safety measures for their employees. And so, you know, yes, we're competing with these other governmental agencies, these other counties and cities, but we're also competing with, you know, big industry as well. And we're competing with those who have convalescent, you know, they're just doing transport. And so it's not the same type calls, but they're also taking our EMTs and our paramedics. It's kind of
I kind of agree with Commissioner Baum. I want to see the other agencies, but I do see a glaring need here. Having said that, I want to make a motion that we accept this proposal.
Thank you, Commissioner Pete. Do we have a second? Commissioner Jernigan? Discussion. Ms. Nolan?
I just said there's a budget amendment that goes with it.
I would like this, the two that made their, the motion in a second, if they would also, if they care to add to it, that as has been said, that all other public safety agencies will have the comparisons with other counties done for this next budget cycle. That we're going to be into in 2 months.
Well, I don't mind adding that, but
Well,
I think it goes without saying it.
I think we're going to, but just to have it so we know where we're staying.
I think everybody's got their marching orders, but if Commissioner Pease fine adding that to his motion, if Commissioner Jernigan's fine with the second on the motion being added that to.
One of the things I'm going to go ahead and support this. I've talked to many of y'all out there in length about this. I think these individuals need this. Your department needs this. They deserve this. We got too far behind the ball and we have to fix this. With that being said, I don't feel comfortable just kind of throwing money at the problem, and I don't mean that with any sort of disrespect. We have to fix this. But the additional pay and filling the jobs and the lack of people coincide usually with additional things. I know a lot of these people here would probably work for a little bit less per year due to the county we live in, the culture within the department. So one thing I really, really want to make sure that we're doing is not just throwing money at the problem and then we're going to have the same issue 2 and 3 years, because somebody's going to pay more than us. And so where I'm going with that is, I initially wasn't inclined to support this until we had some sort of committee or action plan put together on what else are we going to be doing, how are we going to recruit more people, how are we going to take some of these loads and calls off these guys' backs, what's going on with dispatch, what's going on within the culture, hear from more of them, because I've heard from a lot of them. And I'm afraid that if we just do this, that given the raise is going to help maybe short term, but we're going to continue to have the same amount of issues, and whether it's in the private sector or in the government sector, that's a common thread. People have to feel rewarded, they got to feel cared for, they got to enjoy going to work, they got to not be overworked. And so I think we really need to focus on that, because if we don't, we're going to be spending a lot of money. The second thing is, when we get to the law enforcement, I agree with you, like we need to start working on this thing, because we're going to be looking at some really, really tough decisions. I mean, we're seeing what Williamson County is doing right now with a brand new $13,000 impact fee. That's not making a lot of people too happy, and we're going to have to make some big decisions to try to make up some of these gaps here, and they're not going to be very comfortable. And I think bringing all this together is something we need to start immediately across all those departments. So I'm going to vote for this, and I'm going to support it, but I really just want to go on record saying we're going to need to really sharpen our pencil. We'll give them some credit here and go to work on some of that. So.
Anybody else? Not? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan? Yes. Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Well, we get to do this all again next week at the full commission meeting.
Thank you.
Appreciate all y'all being here.
Thank you all.
And your budget, hold on just a minute. Mr. Chairman, she wants to know how far her budget
It's
is.
number 10.
Number 10.
Why don't we do number 10 right now while she's here?
Okay, yes.
Mind, could I switch on?
Yes. Hers is easy, I think.
Okay. If there's no objection, we'll jump to number 10.
Probably gonna get you.
$10,000 budget amendment.
General fund budget amendment for human resources.
So, okay, I was gonna say, with,
You talked about it.
I did, because with the unfortunately, there's other costs associated with turnover. And because we do background checks and we do pre-employment screening and we have to do physicals and TB test and Hep B test and all those other things, I'm afraid I'm going to need, I really hope that this amount gets us to the end of the year. So that's what this will be used for, is to make sure we don't overdraw a line item.
Second his motion.
Sorry, I missed the first. Who made the motion?
Missed it too.
Mr. Schaefer? Sorry. Mr. P was second. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan? Yes. Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
If there's no other objection, being we're jumping around, I'm going to go ahead and move down to 23 and take the highway department, because those guys start at 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, and we're going to let them come on up, because they work these long days. Okay, solid waste is from the bottom of the list.
I've got plenty of time.
I'm only doing this because Mary is with you.
I mean, she'll be back every time. These out, it kind of goes along with what you'll be hearing from me about this evening. Have something similar on your iPad, but I want you to have this as well. Yeah. Right. I'm here tonight asking for a budget amendment for the purchase of 4 dump trucks and 2 4-door pickup trucks. So the money that would be used to pay for this equipment would come from fund balance that we put in at the end of last year. And that's the sheet that I just handed out. Shows you where we will be even after this budget transfer. Last year we were very fortunate. We were able to put in a substantial amount of money, as you can see there, into our fund balance. And I think we need to take advantage of that opportunity to displace some of the older equipment that we have.
How long since you bought any dump trucks? It's been a few years, hasn't it not?
2006, actually. Historically, the highway department has, for the last several years, decades even, replaced these dump trucks in pairs, 2 at a time, every 2 to 3 years. So the trucks that these trucks would replace are 91 models and 93 models. Those 2 91 model trucks, one of them has 519,000 miles on it, and the other one has 433,000 miles on it. So there's definitely a need there. But before I decided to do this, I wanted to make sure where we came in last year with our fund balance. So
This has been in front of the road board and been approved by the road board.
it has been approved by the road board. It has, yes. In fact, just to give you a little more history of how we wound up here in February. Back in May last year, 2016, the road commissioners approved the purchase of 2 dump trucks. Shortly after that happened, I mean within days of that happening, I was made aware of a grant that could possibly be used to replace some of this equipment. It was a congestion mitigation air quality grant, state of Tennessee. It was an 80-20 match, I believe. So we just, with the road board's permission at the next meeting, we tabled the decision to buy those 2 trucks and pursue that grant. We were told during that process that we would be hearing something back in September. And it turned out it was December before we actually heard that we weren't awarded the grant. So I went back to the road board and let them know what the outcome of the grant application was, and asked them for permission to buy 2 4-door pickups that would become an off-state contract, which would eliminate the need for a bid, and 4 tandem dump trucks. Now that motion carried at the road board, and we advertised and to bid the 4 tandem dump trucks at our February board meeting, and a motion was made to accept the bid from Mack of Nashville for the purchase of these 4 trucks with snow plows. Now, you asked another thing, you asked about how long it been since we bought any dump trucks, and I feel like the reason that gap happened between 2006 and now. A lot of it was the fact that, 2006, 7, 8, there was an obvious downturn in the economy, and I think that factored into the decision. But there was also new technology being developed out there for cleaner burning engines. EPA was certifying different type of engines to burn cleaner. So I think that had an impact on the decision to not go ahead and purchase some trucks, because I think everyone wanted to see how well that equipment was going to perform, function. And I think now it's had time to kind of be proven in the field. So I'm comfortable with going ahead and
Your
making that
mechanic
purchase.
approves this purchase? too?
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
What's the will of the committee? Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Commissioner Captain. Been back in 26 years, replace these four trucks right here. There's no further discussion, call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Pettit?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer? Yes. Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll get back on an order now. We'll Fund condition report, Ms. Nolan.
Okay, I'll start with the development tax. In January, we received $696,000 for development tax. That brings our total for the year to $3,717,000. There were 269 apartments in Murfreesboro that are this development tax covered.
They got what they want, they won't be downstairs.
What was that you just said a second ago?
We had 269 apartments in Murfreesboro. Okay, as far as cash, at the end of January, our cash balances totaled $304,457,000, with $222,768,000 being operating funds, $81,689,000 being borrowed funds. Mark has on his report, I don't know if y'all ever look at these things, it kind of tells you with the eyeball which funds are down in cash compared to the year ago. As far as the negative spending in the capital projects in 189, we'll talk about that later. There's about a $5 million reduction in the employee insurance, and Ms. Street may be discussing that.
Revenue.
Okay, our review of our revenue. I always think it's interesting on the very bottom as far as the tax roll, how much of the current tax roll is collected at the end of January of the 2016 tax roll. 58.6% had been collected. That's higher than the other 2 years at the same time. Our development tax, we have amendments being presented tonight to increase our budgeted estimate for development tax. Right now, we're 11.7% higher from the prior year and 146% of budget. Our sales tax in the rural area is up 13.76%. Our hotel motel tax is about 52% of our budgeted estimate. Sales tax for all districts, all municipalities in the county is up almost 9% compared to the same period of time for last year. So any of the funds that receive sales tax, which is, for that one, that's the schools that gets a bite of everybody's sales tax. So they'll be seeing that increase. but pretty much all of them are in line, if not higher than the prior 5 years at this time, compared to the budget.
Any questions of Ms. Nolan?
Motion to approve the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Petey.
Second.
Commissioner Baum. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Risk Management Financial Report. The Street, Mr. Davenport, I believe it is, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Welcome.
I'll let Mr. Davenport go ahead with Fund 264.
So on Fund 264, we have a date for January 2017. Fairly quicker report than normal, considering we only have 1 month of revenue versus expenditure so far. We don't have a lot of the year to compare now, obviously. Through January, $6 million, just over $6 million in revenue. That's up 7% compared back to January of 2016. So just a reminder, 6% of that is going to be due to the increase that we took for 2017. Another higher percent of that is going to be one of two things. One, slightly more enrollment into a richer plan, or two, more enrollment into family or spousal tiers, which also helps the county with the revenue. Expenses, $5.9 million for just under $100,000 surplus to start out the year through January. The second page is, like I mentioned, those numbers are going to match relative right back to the first page because we only have 1 month of data. And then the third page is going to be the hard data and the backup that you're used to seeing historically through that period of the calendar year.
Okay. Any questions?
Now we'll go to Fund 266. For the month of January, we ended at $408,096 compared to prior year of $353,596.
There's no questions. Entertain a motion to approve the report.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Peete, Commissioner Schaefer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Got a recommendation from the insurance committee.
We took bids for our medical, stop loss, dental, vision, and prescription coverage. And from that, we had received multiple bids, and upon completion of our review, it showed that Cigna and Blue Cross Blue Shield were the two best bids that we received, and we reviewed them as the finalists of all product lines. If you look at the first sheet that you have in front of you, you'll see that from an ASO perspective, including pharmacy, the renewal with Cigna was a 20% difference over current annual cost projection, and Blue Cross Blue Shield came in at 4.1% above current cost. When we looked at the medical discounts that were being offered, Cigna came in at 59.5%, whereas Blue Cross Blue Shield came in at 62%. They both have a 3% variance, margin,
Margin of
right,
error.
that they can do in order to still achieve the performance guarantee. We know that based on claims experience that Cigna is consistently meeting the 59.5%. The 62% was a significant increase over the last bid that Blue Cross Blue Shield had submitted to our office, and we felt uncomfortable that we would actually achieve that high of a discount based on that information, and since it wasn't based on actual claims experience within Rutherford County. Also, the amount at risk was lower than what Cigna had put at risk for their discount guarantee. When you look at the pharmacy rebates, you'll see that Cigna comes in at $2.1 million, whereas Blue Cross Blue Shield came in at $1.6 million. So all in, it's about a $1.1 million difference between the fixed cost and the annual rebate projections for what we could have potentially saved by gambling on a medical discount rate. So when all things were considered and discussed within the insurance committee, the recommendation was to place all lines with renewal at Cigna, and it was voted on unanimously.
Any questions?
If we'll go, if we can go through this in its entirety, then we can move beyond the medical onto the stop-loss quote, which is part of yours as well. Currently, Cigna has a $7.21 PEPM rate for 750,000 pooling level. They actually brought in their bid with the same rate as well. Blue Cross Blue Shield had brought in a bid with a lower rate of 6.62, but they were going to require claims activity through April. It was not a firm quote. So there again, stop-loss recommendation was to remain with Cigna, and it was voted on unanimously as well in favor of Cigna. Within the dental, Cigna is currently at $3.06. The renewal was $2.80. For consistency purposes and ease of administration for both the employee in terms of having one card for all of their services, the recommendation was made for Cigna and voted unanimously. The same with vision. Currently we're at 94 cents admin fee. Cigna was at 90 cents upon renewal. Blue Cross Blue Shield did come in lower at 75 cents, but ease for the employee was taken into consideration, and the recommendation was Cigna and voted unanimously.
You said ease for the employee?
Yes, sir, because then it's just one card that they carry, and it's easier for them to remember which carrier has their benefits.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan. Second, Commissioner Kaplan. As a former member of the insurance committee, I appreciate all the work they put in because they spend a lot of time going through this. And when she said all these votes were unanimous, that spoke volumes to me. No further questions, call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan? Yes. Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peete?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Reclassification of position for risk management.
So one of the added benefits of our renewal with Cigna will be on 7/1. They will add an addition of a wellness person on site at Rutherford County. We currently have one person today on site. When you're trying to manage 6,000 employees through our programs and with about 5,000 active that participate in the insurance, we have a lot of people to cover with our wellness programs and various things that we offer. So having that additional person from Cigna will be very helpful. That will give us 2 people on site with Cigna with access into their programs, services, and information available through claims activity. We also have someone available through Premise Health. We have grown in the number of employees over the last several years, and we have not added anyone to support the Board of Education from an administrative perspective in my office. So I'm recommending that we reclassify the current wellness coordinator position within my Rutherford County budget, utilizing only those resources provided through our contract with Cigna and Premise Health for our wellness program, and move that position to an insurance administrator, at which point we would have 3 in my office that would service Board of Education and County General. In doing that, it's a $2,333 difference to the budget. I currently have enough money in the budget to cover that salary. There will be an impact to the next fiscal year budget, but I think that it is something that we need to do in order to maintain a service level with the employees, and the amount of volume that we handle is significant, specifically because a lot of it is manual work that we have to do.
So you're talking about actually adding a position? I was
Just
thinking it
reclassifying the position to move it to reclassify our current wellness coordinator that I have in my budget to an insurance administrator position. And I brought it before you all because there is a difference in salary in those 2 positions.
The same person will move into this other role, I take it.
Well, right now that position is currently open.
Oh, it is, okay.
The position became open back in the very beginning of December. I knew I had bids out, and I was waiting for those results to come in before I could decide what would be the best thing to do with the budget dollars. So this is what I'm making the recommendation based on now.
So you feel okay, at least for foreseeable future, not to have a wellness coordinator, you think, in the bid, and the services rendered?
We will actually have
cover all
2
that?
on site
That'll-
in our office.
This won't be county employees.
That's correct, right.
I appreciate you thinking kind of outside the box to repurpose that position personally.
Does that come out of their administrative fees?
It's included in there, yes. Mhm.
What's the will of the committee?
I'll make a motion to approve the reclassification
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
of the employee.
Second.
Commissioner Baum. Any further discussion, questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Fee?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good evening. Financial assurance in lieu of bond documents for the landfill. Mr. Nolan, that wasn't too long.
Wasn't bad at all. We have a closed Class 1 landfill, or they call it a Class 1 landfill now. It's just renamed after it was closed. But we have to provide a financial assurance that we will take care of that forever. Normally, or in the past, it was known to be a 30-year project. They're in the process of changing that to be 50. But as long as the county owns that piece of property, we'll still have to be responsible for it no matter what. And the way this financial bond works is, our financial assurance, it goes down every year. But we actually don't have any money anywhere that secures this. The fund balance of the solid waste would do so, but it's not set up specifically for that.
Well, during the nearly 15 years I've been here, this number's gone from 3 million to 2.6. So
Yeah, it's going down.
we're going down.
Yeah, it goes down every year. The thought process is it'd be less expensive each year as it gets older. It may not be a bad thing to consider at some point, is to take part of our fund balance and designate it for that, just in case.
Just to encumber our money.
We don't really have a choice on this.
No, it's
Go
just,
ahead and,
we've
make a
done this
motion
every
to
year
approve.
for,
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Fee. Commissioner Jernigan. Something we don't have a choice for, we can vote for it or not, we gotta do it regardless. So, do you have a motion and a second? Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Fee?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yeah.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Okay, solid waste. Fund budget amendment. Mr. Nolan.
Actually, two amendments. Y'all looking at the one with 3 or the one with 1? Which one are y'all looking at first?
396.
396. The big one.
The big
16.
Okay. Of course, at the landfill, we've done a lot of dirt moving and hauling of dirt, pushing and packing the trash. As we entered this budget cycle, we also changed contractors, which that price went up. We're also moving a lot more and using a whole lot more equipment. So our original budget number was actually not going to be effective anyway. But we've already done one budget amendment, and we're averaging about $22,000 a week. So if we stay on that track, this $396,000 should get us through the end of this budget year. And also along with that, with all the things that we're doing at the landfill, the engineering consulting firm has to do a lot with TDEC and a lot of the plan drawing and things like that. So you can see there, we've just about spent all that. So we're asking for another $15,000 there. And then a lot of the work that we've done, we had to work on drainage ditches and roads, and we've spent just about all of our crushed stone money. So we're asking for another $5,000 there. And all that would be coming out of the solid waste fund balance.
Do you want to take both these amendments together or one at a time? Is there any reason we can't take these together?
No.
If there's no objection, we'll move on to the next one.
The other amendment is where we haul glass to Nashville for disposal. It's actually recycled, but they charge us to accept that, and we're going to need another $8,000 to make it through the rest of the budget year for that purpose. That money will be coming from the asphalt line item of the convenience center budget.
Do we actually make any money on that?
Oh, no. No.
I mean, we don't get any money back at all.
No.
I mean, I realize we're not making anything, but, okay.
But it's not gonna decompose in the landfill if it went there.
Well, if you do the math on it, it's not quite a clear average, but most of our glass hauls happen between mid-November and right after Easter. We've got Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Super Bowl, and then up to Easter. And that period generates a lot of glass. And then we'll hit it again midsummer.
Cold weather, you can't go outside, right?
Since this is coming out of your budget, I want to make a motion to approve the request.
Thank you, Commissioner Payne. Commissioner Jernigan. Further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Fee?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you, Mac.
Thank you.
So we've done number 10, we'll go to number 11. General fund budget transfer for emergency management. Mr. Cass, welcome.
Thank you, sir. How y'all doing?
Fine, thank you.
Had to move a little bit of money around here because we had a problem with one of our response vehicles. Thought it was a transfer case. Got in looking at it. Yeah, it needed a transfer case. We also needed transmission. And while Wayne was looking around there, saw problems with the radiator. So it ended up being a lot more than I had in my line item for vehicle repairs. And so I'm going to need to move some money from the other line item, the rentals, over to that to cover it. And it is a response vehicle. And the reason why I'm repairing it is, remember last year, y'all, the full commission allowed me to hire another person, so I delayed, within delay. When we bought a new vehicle, which I'm trying to replace them all one a year, I held on to one old one a little bit longer for that new individual, so we'd have enough vehicles for, instead of 3, we'd have 4. So Murphy's Law worked in this case, so now I'm having to put a little more money into this vehicle to get it back.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Kaplan.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer. Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Fee?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank y'all. Yes. General fund budget transfer for Paul's. Mr. Gregory, welcome.
We presented a plan at Public Safety last month after several months of study regarding our CAT intake and the solution for that. This budget amendment tonight allows us to go ahead and start that immediately, moving money from our tenant line item from an open position over to our part-time personnel, as well as moving money within various line items to purchase some equipment for a part-time veterinarian that we'd like to hire.
This is in addition to the other, you do have a veterinarian.
I have a full-time veterinarian. They performed about 3,400 surgeries last year. I can't add any more to them. I really could use another complete full-time, but this part-time person will be able to come in and implement the CAP program, as well as provide a little bit of relief to them through our free spay neuter program. We're behind on those surgeries, probably 2 to 3 months. We have a stack this high of people that are waiting to be called now to schedule those. So the program is successful, but we have a backlog.
In the meantime, the cats are
They're continuing to reproduce, dogs and cats. So the program has been successful. It's just we could really kick it into fast forward here if that was available. This will help alleviate some of that, as well as the cats that are coming to the shelter now. We're going to start doing a community cat program and putting those animals back out after they've been spayed or neutered versus euthanasia.
I make a motion to approve the request.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer, Commissioner Kaplan. Any further discussion?
Now, what did you mean by you will put them back out after they've been
They would-
neutered? You gonna put them on the street, or you
Well,
gonna give them to us?
they would go back, two different ways of looking at it. Ideally, they would go back to the area from which they came from. That area has adequate resources because those animals have been surviving in that area. If you pull an animal out and all you do is euthanize it, then you're going to have another unaltered animal come back in because the resources remain. Putting that animal back out into that area that's already spayed or neutered is going to keep other intact animals from infiltrating that area because the resources are there. It will help with the population just from the fact that you're putting animals back that are spayed or neutered, so they're not going to have 3 or 4 litters per year. I've got a diagram that I'll be happy to show you that shows it a little bit better.
Well, you're gonna have to do some pretty good explaining to
All right.
that's me that putting a stray dog back on the road.
Well, we're not talking about dogs. We're talking about feral cats.
Okay,
So
that
if you
makes me feel a little bit better.
you're having to look at it from a different situation.
There is some good data available from Huntsville that this is working.
Yes.
So this is a trial program.
I've read some about,
Yeah.
Right.
we've asked to replace feral cats.
Correct.
So-
We've asked Public Safety for a 2-year trial period to make sure that our data is going to match what we've seen from other areas. We compared us to Huntsville. They've been doing this program for going on 3 years now. being that they're close to us as far as their demographics to see if it's going to work or not. So then 2 years we can decide to go further. It wouldn't involve dogs whatsoever. It's only cats. When you look at a feral cat, you have to look at it almost in a situation that they're basically the same as wildlife. They've never had human contact. They're out there fending for themselves as it is. And there's really no difference between the two. So we're putting them back out there, but at least they're going to be spayed and neutered and not reproducing. If you take those animals out and do what we're doing now, which is euthanizing them, the resources in that area remain. So you have other cats that come over into that area, and all they're going to do is continue to reproduce. If you look at our intake numbers for several years, our dogs are the blue line. They've gone from 5,000 down to 3,000 as far as our intakes in the last 10 years. But if you look at the red line, which is our cats, it's almost flat. So what we've been doing with our cats is not working. This is something, like I said, we've asked for a 2-year trial period to show that if the data does like what it did in Huntsville, the blue is what their euthanasia rate was. You can see it's almost down to nothing now. And then their live release is the green, which you can see what it's done. I'm sorry I don't have enough of these to pass out this evening. What we're hoping is within the 2-year trial period, we'll be able to see the same results coupled with the spay-neuter surgeries that we're doing now just for the general public.
Learn something new every day.
But no dogs are going to be brought in, spayed or neutered, and then just turned loose.
And that's not the only place that he's got data from that this works, but that's one that's similar size to us and close to home.
Well, we've got a motion and a second, I believe. And if there's no further questions, call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Gregory.
Thank you all.
Got a general fund budget transfer for general sessions. Are you handling that,
I'm
Mrs.
handling
Noel?
that one, yes. This is a request to move $3,000 from their data processing equipment to their office supplies for the rest of the year. And then the second one is a request to move $1,120 from data processing equipment to data processing services to provide funds for 2 quarters of NCIC connectivity for their pre-trial release program.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Mr. Baum? Any questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan? Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Got a general fund budget amendment for agriculture extension. Mr. Tuggle, welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're looking to use some funds from our rent line that we've collected over time, which is around $300,000. We're looking to put an AC unit in our livestock barn, expanding for space. You know, livestock barn AC kind of strange, but we have meetings out there. We have quite a few meetings out there. So we're looking to kind of get it cool and also to benefit the election commission. We like to have early voting and elections happen. So that's what we're looking forward to. It has been approved by the Conservation Board to use some of those funds.
Any questions, Mr. Tuggle? I feel sure the people election commission will appreciate having air conditioning by the time the next summertime election comes around. Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Commissioner P. When we built this building, we thought air conditioning wasn't necessary. I was sort of skeptical at the point in time.
Can we flip over a page and we have the Teeter Company? And that, I guess, caveat or whatever you want to call it down there that says that if this doesn't work, if it's not big enough, they're not responsible. Now, you feel that the unit we're getting in there is going to cover it?
Yes, we feel comfortable about it, but 2 units going in. So yeah.
You know, we ran into one not too far from there that we sticks out in my.
I feel sure the Conservation Board wouldn't have approved this much money without having a pretty good comfort level. Pretty conservative bunch on the Conservation Board. Any further discussion? Got a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you, Anthony. Good evening. Got a general fund budget amendment for the sheriff's office.
It's a good thing, we got money coming.
I guess chief deputy, what's your official prep? Well, I know you're prepped, I know.
That's a good.
Welcome.
Problem.
Well,
Yeah. Simple, we had some money come in from our DEA, the sheriff task force that we do. The amount was
This is the sheriff's department first.
Do the sheriff's department. Do this
I didn't know I
first.
had any more.
Yeah, you got those two small ones there.
It wasn't on my agenda, I'm
Here.
sorry, guys.
You got some insurance money?
Okay.
And contributions.
Yeah, go ahead and hold that.
I need to make sure I get the right thing. Right?
There you go.
So this is what we did in public safety. Oh, the insurance recovery, $3,964. We would like to move that to our 718 motor vehicles. Of course, to replace the car that was totaled or help assist. Had some donations come in. The animal food, we want to move that from 44570. That's 2,600, 900 with a total of 1,700 into law enforcement supplies.
Okay. And the other one?
It's the DEA.
Let's do this one. This is the
We do
general
that
fund.
separate because they're two separate funds, aren't they?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
any questions on this part of it? Not will entertain a motion. Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Commissioner Bond. No further questions. Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. We've got a special purpose fund budget amendment.
That's our DEA task force, shared funds, okay? We received a check from an investigation for $5,506.36. We'd like to move that into our 716, which is our special purpose fund for law enforcement equipment.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Kaplan.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer. Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
I did these.
Smart Supervision Grant, who does that?
Mr. Davidson up here.
Okay, that's not with the sheriff's department, all right?
Thank you.
I didn't know if it was sheriff or probation or
Actually,
who.
Sir, we'll be the executive agent for this, but
Yeah.
I'll just let you know. Like the committee's permission to submit an application for a grant with the Bureau of Justice Assistance for $750,000. There are no matching funds. It's over a 3-year period. When we started our Criminal Justice Coordinating Council a little over a year ago, we developed a 3-phase plan. The end of the second phase ends in June. The beginning of the third phase begins in July. We have no funding for the third phase right now, to be honest with you. So our vision doesn't have resources. So without resources, it's really just a hallucination right now. And so
That's what you're on probation for.
But I'm optimistic about this particular grant. It would focus on reducing the recidivism and increasing the case management on the high-risk offenders. So what we do is take this grant money and put new people in the jail to do a risk needs assessment. Okay, and through the future networking capability of some of the software that will be purchased, the RMS and JMS, that'll give us an end-to-end visibility and collaboration capability from intake to incarceration in the jail, to transfer to the Correctional Work Center, and then to re-entry services in the Probation Services Department. That allows us to concentrate the programs where they need to be, for the right services, for the offender, and then 4 other people will be hired to be put into the Probation Services Department to do the intensive case management on those high-risk people. So that's what we're asking to apply for.
What's the total number of employees?
To be 7 employees. We've also reached out to Middle Tennessee State University to be a research assistant. And the Criminal Justice Administration Department has agreed to do that.
but it'd be a total of 7 employees,
So in 3 years' time, we'd inherit 7 employees.
potentially.
That's usually my negative comment to grants. They get you hooked on something, and then, and this may be a great thing, but is this something we'd be looking to do in 3 years' time if we didn't have the grant?
I think so.
You know,
Doing the risk that we, with our growth in our county right now, with the population, our correction system, unfortunately, is a growth industry. So what we're really trying to do is attack the recidivism rate and lower the population of the jail. The jail is our biggest liability in the county. The lower we can get that population, the fewer the high-risk people that we get back in that jail, it lowers the liability. So I think it's worth the investment.
I mean, to monopolize the conversation, what about we're going to house these 7 employees? Do we have to build office space for them?
I don't think we'll have to build office space.
Will they all be at the sheriff's office, or will some of them be at probation?
3 will be at the sheriff's office and 4 will be in probation services.
I mean, put me on the spot, but Sheriff, are you in support of this?
I'm in support.
All right.
What is the cost for housing a prisoner out there now, just average or ballpark?
60.
$60+ a day in there.
That's correct.
We'll get hard data, that's right,
Correct.
just like in the Army. Hard data comes to that.
Well, definitely keep us appraised of our recidivism rate. I mean, if you keep one person from going in, that's almost $22,000 a year just on upkeep there.
You got 10 people to pay for this. On average, it's $250,000 a year, a little over 10 people.
Right now in our Veterans Treatment Corp, we got over 20. So right now it's maintaining between 20 and 25.
So we have a motion?
Not that I've heard.
I'll make a motion that we approve to apply for the grant.
Have a motion?
Everything that needs to be signed. Well, this is just a plan.
Second, Commissioner Jernigan.
Actually, I have in this motion, and I have in this resolution that the county mayor is authorized to accept this grant if it's being awarded. If you want to remove that, we can so do that.
We'd have to come back with an amendment anyway.
Right. We can do it as an amendment, but
Amendment money
we
coming
can
in.
go ahead.
We would hear back in October.
Any further questions or discussion? Excuse me. I'm always skeptical of the grants, and I always want to personally ask if anybody hired with grant money be apprised of the situation, because there's not a guarantee their position would last after the grant. I don't want to be, if anybody saying, well, you promised me a job for the foreseeable future. But,
Understood?
and I would really hate the sheriff be up there in October and say, hey, I got these employees, where am I going to put them? We need to build some more space.
I'll get them back to jail.
Back then. No further questions. Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peake?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yeah.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Also, just so you know, on 1 March, here in the courthouse, we'll be hosting a state conference on grants for the criminal justice system. So just to let you know.
Thank you. Built environmental grants for health department and related budget amendment. Ms. Garrett, welcome.
Hello.
That's why we address this.
Okay, I'm here tonight. The state was awarded a federal grant, and they are pushing out $10,000 to every county for what they call built environment. It's a new word for building healthy things into the community. And so they have sent us $10,000, and the Wellness Council and the Health Department kind of got together with the school, Rutherford County Schools, and they have a plan for trying to add tracks at all of their schools. They have
based on need and other community resources. So we're going to be using this $10,000 to help fight obesity at the Smyrna Elementary School, where we have a nearly 50% rate of obese and overweight children and 75% low free and reduced lunch rate there as well. So we felt like this was a good school to put the $10,000 into. It's cost about $22,000 and some change to build the track, so we're just a part of it, and that was one of the requirements from the state. They wanted us to be partnering with someone and to do a built environment project that would help decrease obesity and increase physical activity in our county. So it's been approved by the school to take the money, and they got it bidded out, the track and everything. So.
Any questions? Thank you, Commissioner Kaplan.
I'll second.
Commissioner Schaefer.
That's, there's a lot of soccer fields at that, practice fields at that school. Is that correct?
Yes, there is.
I'm sure Mr. Clardy will take good care of the project.
It will be open
You
to
need
the
something else to
community
do,
there,
didn't you?
not just the school.
So the track won't be fenced in?
No, it will not. That's one of the agreements with all of the tracks. They're all open to the communities that surround the schools.
Like our others should be.
With no further questions, call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peete?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passed.
Thank you,
Ms.
guys.
Garrett.
Appreciate your
When will
support.
this be started, for curiosity?
Well, as soon as we get the money, we were the last donor to the 22,000. So as soon as we get the money from the state and get it over, like I said, they've already bid it, and it's all ready to go. They're just waiting for the last money.
So it'll be finished by summer.
Probably. I don't know that she put a date here, but I would say. It says Richard Siegel Foundation gave $9,000, Rutherford County Wellness Council gave $2,000, Tennessee Association of Health and Physical Education and Dance gave $500, and then us giving the $10,000 for the total, but it doesn't say a date when it'll be finished.
I think the grant was intended to be spent by June 30, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I believe.
It does say we can roll it over if need be, but yeah.
It's intended to be.
And he said it'll be done this year. Okay.
Beats a heck of asphalt work.
Yeah. And she has to, the schools have to give us data on how much obesity has decreased once the track is there, so we'll track that as well. So, thank you again for the support.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett. Increased cash on hand for Circuit Court Clerk. Ms. Harrell, welcome.
Hello. I'm just wanting $150 in on-hand cash because I have 3 new stations, and according to our auditors, we have to have this separate.
We may have to take that under advisement.
Can y'all handle that?
And you've got a resolution in front of you.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution to let Ms. Harrell have another $150 in petty cash?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Fee. Commissioner Jernigan, call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner Peete?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Now the big one, the general fund budget amendment for judicial offices, which that's your presentation, I believe.
I'll just give a quick, on the amendment. This product that we're getting ready to give to you is $304,000. There's funds that the circuit courts collect, and it does only be used for records management and archiving. And this product that they're bringing to you meets those requirements, and so the funds are there as committed funds, or restricted funds that would be for this purpose. They've got the PowerPoint on there.
Is it on there?
It's right on here.
The PowerPoint is on there.
Ms. Harrell,
Okay.
you might, or Mayor, one of y'all do some introduction. 'Cause
Yeah, let's
we've got a room
sort
full
of
of
set this up here.
specialists. So
This is Cindy Sullivan from
Patterson Pope.
Patterson Pope, And you all are aware of Jerry Preston?
Jerry Preston, he's our owner's representative on this judicial building. So in the whole discovery process of doing everything we must do so that we can get in that building and function properly, we started this journey about how we're going to get all of these really literally thousands and thousands of records from where she is out there. And so what we're going to talk about here is that very process of organizing and labeling and identifying this and moving this stuff. They're not going to actually move it, but they're going to put it in a position where we can move it. When we go to the, so this, we had enough money in the judicial project, but this has been determined by our bond counsel that we can't use the construction money for this operating quote kind of process that we need to, that we're going to have to do, period. So that's the reason we need this budget amendment. So we have a couple of people with us here today. She's already introduced, but the only one that's going to speak to us is Ms. Sullivan Lang.
I think Jerry's going to talk.
And Jerry, yeah, he always wants to say a little something.
Answer any questions.
But this, go ahead, Jerry.
Well, I think, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we said, we've been working with Patterson Pope for the last 16 months to help us to design and develop filing strategies and also equipment solutions, as well as looking at the spaces. And so what we have today with us is from Patterson Pope is Cindy Ahern Sullivan, who's going to be doing the presentation, as well as the CEO, Denny Hammock, from the company, and also Paul Myers. And Paul is also a Murfreesboro resident, so he lives here in Murfreesboro. And Paul's been responsible for developing the equipment solutions for the new building. And Cindy has been responsible for actually developing the filing strategies for the circuit clerk, as well as the clerk and master's office. And so that's what we're really going to talk about, is the filing for those two areas. And of course, that's certainly the majority in most of the filing, and I guess the biggest challenge as far as moving and transitioning into the new building. So this is a great opportunity for us to really start organizing and management in the filing and be prepared really for moving into the new building. With that, I'll turn it over to Cindy, and she'll walk you through the presentation.
Excellent.
These people are pretty fast learners.
Okay, so, okay, I got it. As far as our agenda today, I think you've already had that provided for you, but we want to give you a little bit of an idea of who we are and what we're about and some of our experience. Share with you some tools and concepts that you may or may not be familiar with, just so we're speaking the same language. We'll review a little bit about the current situation to kind of bring you up to speed on that. We'll share with you our process and what we went through to come up with these solutions. We always look at 3 different approaches, broad approaches, so we'll share what those are, as well as our recommended approach, what the plan of action is, and of course, what are some factors that we would need to look at in order to determine whether or not our efforts are successful. Finally, a cost summary, and then if there's any questions, we'll be happy to field those.
It's a contract.
Patterson Pope, I don't need to read to you necessarily what's all on the screen here, but our job is to keep things simple. And what our job is mainly, the bottom line, is we solve the problems that files and other things, including boxes, docket books, those types of things create. Again, the message here is simplicity, it's tracking, it's helping you organize and find things when you need them. We're located mainly in the southeast, however, we do have offices. We say we span from Lake Erie to Key West, Florida. Again, we have a local office here in Nashville with Paul residing here in Murfreesboro, so it doesn't get much better than that. Our experience, broad range of experience with county and state court systems. I think mainly just because we do a great job working with counties that are both still in a lot of paper, which paper intensive here, as well as moving to electronic. That's one of our specialties. Also, something to note is that we do have purchasing contracts available on NJPA and National Joint Powers National Joint Powers Association. And I believe that you're currently purchasing off that contract, so that helps make things easier. Some tools and concepts that we'll talk about here briefly. Currently, you have some top tab folders that are usually in drawer style filing, and you also have end tab folders, and those are used basically with open shelves. The new judicial building is going to have open shelving, hence some of the files that are currently in the top tab will need to be transferred to that end tab format so that the titles would be visible. One of the things that we're including in some areas in which there isn't an inventory of records is a database creation, which is literally an on-site process, bringing in laptops and creating that inventory in some cases where it doesn't exist. And that would be for more critical records as well. File conversion is that process of converting oftentimes to the end tab folders, so transferring and sometimes relabeling. So that's one of the recommendations that we are providing. Finally, kind of to tie everything together is a barcode tracking system. And simply what that is a management system to track physical records from creation through destruction, managing who has it, when they have it, when does a particular file meet its end of life, if you will, and need to be either moved off site or destroyed. So it's really a system that's designed to build in accountability and gain control over the records, because Melissa provided some data to us today that her area manages over 550,000 records. So this is really just a process mainly focused on the active records, but just really to help get some of those processes and things under control. So in order to, I think it's important for us to more or less prove to you that we really understand some of the challenges that the county is going through right now. Clearly unprecedented growth. The staffing requirements, of course, continue to increase. So if there are possible tools that we can implement in order to impact that, better impact those FTE requirements, those are definitely things that we want to bring to the table. Of course, space is limited. Space in the new judicial building is, of course, expensive. We certainly don't want to bring in outdated items or things that you don't need into that new space. It's important to note, too, that especially in Melissa's area, most of the original court documents are that they're just strictly in paper. They're not necessarily scanned. There aren't backup copies available. So it's really important to take care of the documents that you do have currently. Lots of manual processes are currently in place. Retention, as we said, has not been automated. So it's a very cumbersome process in order to kind of move outdated records to where they need to be. We did notice that there were some security issues as well as some safety issues as far as how things are arranged in the current courthouse. And then, of course, I think we have to be mindful of the fact that there are some cultural challenges, especially the transition to Tensis, going to a new building, new policies and procedures in place. So there's an awful lot going on. We definitely are mindful of that. Just to give you an idea of, Jerry mentioned that we've been working with the county here for the past 16 months. During that time, I personally, with Paul, went through and identified and found in the courthouse all the court files, books, documents, everything that needed to be moved. Really just to get an idea of what the space was going to allow us for in the new plan, among other things. So with that information, we actually gathered 17 key criteria, and I have a 10-page spreadsheet that outlines all the detail, all the work that we went through. And through that process, too, we also did some interviews with staff and to get ideas from them. What would you see could be some good improvements? Give us some ideas there. So from that, we compiled all that information, we analyzed our results, and we came up with the recommendations that you'll see here shortly. You'll see there's a few lines there that are grayed out. Ultimately, of course, the goal is to gain approval. Then we would provide a timeline for completion and then ultimately implement solutions. I think one of the key areas here as well is that we have the ability to start doing some implementations long before the move into the new building. So that's something that we really want to hone in on. When looking at these changes, of course, we have to take a broad view on what do we do here. The first option for anybody is just to keep the status quo. And of course, we have to look at that as being realistic, but in this case, we really don't believe that it is realistic. Again, you don't want to bring a bunch of unneeded items over to the new courthouse. Things need to be organized, they need to be labeled, they need to be locatable at the new courthouse. So really, keeping the status quo is not realistic if you're going to continue to move forward, especially into the new building. Another option that we, of course, would want to look at too would be going paperless right now. Get rid of all the existing records, scan those. But from a feasibility perspective, meaning we've got a little bit more than a year, budget-wise, feasibility, it's just really not realistic. And quite honestly, in order to get to paperless, you really have to do step 3, which is the step that we're recommending, which is to better organize, upgrade your tools, so that you can manage and better prepare, not just for electronics, but for that ultimate move to the new judicial center.
By statute, can we go paperless on all these records? That's what I thought, that we could not. Okay.
So let me describe for you a little bit about the approach that we are recommending here, which is approach number 3. Some of the benefits that you will obtain by this is that the records are now going to be visible. Specifically, we have some critical records that are now in boxes that need to come out of boxes, be databased, be visible when they're moved into the new courthouse or the new judicial center. Also, going through this process, the records themselves are going to fit in the space that's allotted for storage in the new building. As I mentioned, the changes can be accomplished before the move. That's huge because some of the benefits that you'll gain can now be achieved sooner rather than waiting until May of next year. Really saving a lot of time as far as day-to-day record activities. We can definitely impact that from start to finish. By providing better tools and better processes and better practices, again, then really decreases the need to add full-time employees in the future. Retention management, we don't want to ever end up in a situation where you were, which you just had, there were just stacks and stacks of records. So really managing that process from start to finish is really the goal, so that you never really have to face some of those large challenges again. Brief plan of action, it's similar for circuit clerk as well as the clerk and master's office. Install and implement the barcode tracking and label print software. Label print software sounds like a pretty small thing, but these folks spend an awful lot of time manually labeling things. So that's a pretty quick way to make a big impact on their daily tasks. We're going to be applying barcodes to the existing active files, as well as warrants, so that they are trackable as they move throughout the facility. We're going to be databasing and converting some long-term critical type records, as well as doing some inventorying on records that currently they don't have a database on, so that they are locatable in the future. It's hard to look for something if you don't really know that if it ever existed. Again, similar plan of action for clerk and master. They're both able to use the same software system, so that's a real benefit. And again, applying barcodes to active files so that those can be tracked, and inventory and boxing some critical inactive type records. So how do we measure whether or not we're successful? First of all, gaining control is going to be a really, really big factor. You'll have the ability to definitely better manage your physical files than ever before. It will streamline the transition to the new courthouse, maximizing, again, that valuable floor space in the new judicial center. Lots of ways in which we'll be able to justify saving time as far as day-to-day record functions, excuse me, really from creation all the way through the destruction of a record. Increasing accountability, there won't be as many panic searches and looking for things. Again, touching on additional FTEs, hoping to keep that to a minimum, if at all. Automating record retention will speed up that process and just make it, again, never wanting to get into the situation where you have boxes and boxes and rooms full of things. And of course, eventually going to electronic, this will streamline that process. No question. Here we have the project and cost summary, basically project by project, what we're proposing. And again, available on the NJPA contract. I know I've gone through an awful lot, so there are probably some questions or things that we need to clarify.
This will definitely move us on the way to go as paperless as we can, and this, to me, is extremely crucial. I think we figured out 352,000 plus files that we inventoried last week because we knew this was coming. So we wanted to have as close as possible the amount of files that we had on there. Now, when she talks about panic file, we do go into a panic mode because our building is wide open. At the present time, the new one will be very secure. But there are times when a lawyer or somebody will come in and grab a file and we don't know it, and we go into panic mode when the judge says, where is it? So at this point, this will be able to track that file just like that, and we can see who's taken it, who's got it, and when it comes back, which most of the times we don't allow the files to leave, but within our office, sometimes they get shuffled somewhere there too, which will also help us say, oh, it's on that shelf. So this is, to me, very, very, very important. Along with the move, the last thing we need is files to be lost or misplaced during that transaction too, because this isn't, we're not, even though we're just moving down the street, we're moving a whole lot of stuff.
You had said 352, you had said 550. Is there a difference between the two numbers of what you're talking about and the number of files?
Well, she counted books and everything upstairs. We counted files.
Yeah, I thought you counted 550, so maybe I'm mistaken on that.
Ms. Nolan?
Are there some records that can be destroyed and that
We
through
have,
this
yeah, we
process?
have been doing that every time that John has a thing. We have been going to that and getting rid of that.
That's what I thought, wondered if part of this
retention
is to say, we don't have to take these, they
Yeah,
can be destroyed.
we're staying on top of that. We're trying to prepare as best as we can for the move, to get rid of the junk and stay as organized as we can through this process.
Is this something that should go out to bid? Is this a state contract
That's-
type thing? This is.
It's a contract that we can buy from and we do buy
We
from.
can join into the engine.
Yeah, there's several
Okay.
like that, but this is,
There's one thing I kind of like if it happens, and that's, you said reduce the likelihood of hiring additional full-time employees. And there's a pretty,
No, I'm just kidding.
well, if we don't need, because it's more automated, et cetera, like this, and I mean.
It'll be
hey,
very helpful.
I worked in a printing company for a while. We had this thing, and it's a pain to find something when you want that one specific thing. I know, and I can
Absolutely.
imagine what it is.
And, I mean, these files, we're dealing with people's livelihoods, so it's important that we know where everything is. And
The software that you're talking about, I assume it's something like what, Excel for these databases, or what are we talking about in software?
It's a SQL database, so I'm not a technical person, but I know enough. So it's open architecture also, so it has the ability to exchange information with other systems.
It's a Microsoft product, which is
Yes.
a SQL database by Microsoft.
Is Mr. Bratcher on board with this?
Yes, sir.
I didn't see him here in the crowd, but he is bought in 100%
he
on
met
this.
with us this morning, or this afternoon.
Yes, sir. We met with him just this afternoon, and I talked to him about it. He said that we could certainly, give his support tonight.
We had talked about a committee of, and pardon me if I used the incorrect terminology, but bringing the buildings together. Maybe that was in property management, and they were going to do a study.
are you talking about the repurposing of how we use the buildings?
No, the logistical incorporation of the moving of the buildings together to do a study. I would think, would the cart come before the horse? Would we want to incorporate this into that process?
I'm really not with you.
Okay, so
Commissioner, I don't quite, we have a plan already on who's going to actually move this, move all of our stuff. from their building, whatever's already identified, what can go and what we're going to keep and what we're going to have to leave and dispose of, you might say.
But when we talk about, besides just our building, we have multiple buildings that are going to be incorporated into this new judicial building, correct?
The only people going to be in there are the judges and her primarily.
It's really just a replacement of the judicial building.
Yeah, and the new judicial building, that's all that's going.
Yeah, but there's not consolidation really of any other buildings or spaces into this building. The only thing that we are consolidating is just the data center. We are moving that out of this building into that building. So we'll be building a server room and a data room, to move it out of there. But other than that, all the things are coming just from the judicial center.
Okay. You don't remember Commissioner McAdoo when we made the motion and we discussed having the feasibility study group that we were going to, the same company that handled Williamson County's move with the multiple different buildings and the departments, and what's the cheapest, what's the most efficient, the least costly, and they were going to do a study on how to incorporate all the files, the departments, the employees.
I don't know, Mr. Bond, you're on there on that property management as well. I don't remember that, honestly.
I missed the last meeting on, I guess, last month, so I don't know if you discussed it then or not, but I remember some of those conversations about how to allocate space most efficiently in the current judicial building. It's going to be the old one. That's kind of what I remember.
I remember something coming up at the full commission meeting and saying we couldn't be over there a bunch of workhouse inmates carrying the files down the street. I remember having that conversation.
Yeah.
I remember what that was at a full commission meeting, I believe, because I'm not on property management.
And we do
That's
have
been a year ago, probably. That back when we were approving the building.
Well, the PDA has developed a very comprehensive move plan, but...
This doesn't involve any physical movement.
No, this right here does.
This is files.
This is a huge task. And this is all secret, personal information that can't be set on the sidewalk while somebody goes and does this. I mean, all this stuff has to be done properly, or we've got huge liability if these files were to get lost or whatever. Then the county could be on the hook for a lot more than this just for negligence.
Well, it's not just my files in here, it's also my evidence. And I don't know how many of you are aware of our evidence stream, but we have a very large load of evidence that's sealed.
Well, Ms. Sullivan, this is very labor intensive, I suppose, what you're going to do.
Absolutely.
Ms. Harold just doesn't have the resources to organize this and put it in this shape. There's no way in the world she can do it and keep doing her daily work.
Exactly.
So we've got to have assistance.
But you probably don't have to get it done all in 1 month. I mean,
Now, this is going to take how many months to do this?
I mean, it'll take, through different phases. I mean, I would venture to guess 5 to 6 months over time.
But we've got the luxury of doing a little bit at a time. I mean, currently it's not organized like this.
No, but it must be.
Are you talking about actually entering the databases? You'll have employees that will do that?
Yes.
It's not something that's going to be her on us, okay?
Nope, that's all included for those specific areas, yes.
Yeah, on the three main areas for the barcoding, there's like 10 to 12 staff for each area for barcoding, and then it's going to be, over probably a period of, a pretty long period of time, 14 days or things of that nature, for that level of staff to really do, that type of effort. It gets into the about in the range of like 9,000 man hours, if you calculate all the time and so forth to go through and reorganize and do the work. I might just mention about the move, since we kind of got into that. We put out an RFP and also advertised for a moving company. And so we've gone through that process, and we selected Grable as the moving company. They've had experience with moving TBI and FBI and other really secure types of locations and confidential materials. But with Patterson Pope's experience also of doing that, and Grable, we feel really comfortable. We worked today in 2 meetings with the circuit clerk as well as the clerk and master, and also with the county OIT, about really coordinating, that interface and responsibilities for that. And we really want to get a year's notice. We're looking at moving, probably the first week in May of 2018. So we're working out the details of that now. But this plays a whole role in that, and plays a real critical piece, to making that successful and be very efficient when we move into the new building.
We're very pleased with this Cindy too. She has come in and gave us lots of great ideas that we would have never thought of because we've never seen it. Even though we travel, we've gone to other counties, she has some wonderful organization ideas. We're going into a very nice building and we want it to look nice and be organized.
How many other companies similar to Patterson Pope did you speak to and discuss our project and go in depth like this we did
I have
here?
no clue.
Well, actually, we sort of, I'll call it, we sort of started with the equipment in the building. And so they are on the contract that they mentioned, and so we started designing that. But it became very apparent that we needed professional assistance with that equipment and what was going to go in that equipment and how it would be organized when it would go into it. So this is really a professional service that they provide in providing their equipment. And so it's a part of that contract is what it is that we plan to purchase the equipment off of.
So we didn't speak
No.
to any other companies.
And I don't know that there's a lot of companies out there that actually do this, to be honest, to this degree and to this magnitude.
On the plus side, we have come up with a funding source that is restricted for this type
That's
of
right.
expenditure.
We have the money.
It's not undesignated fund balance like we're usually looking at. So
This point's already been made, but I think it's really important, is moving to kind of scanned material and also all electronic. You've really got to take the steps to get there and organize to get there. These are steps on that path, is what they are. So this is money well invested in the future, not only for right now for us, the organization, but it's really critical for moving into the next phase too of scanned and electronic documents.
Do you feel by the time we get into the building that the new cases moving forward will be able to be all electronic?
Not all, but a lot. We're going,
Is that because of the statute that you?
Some of it, yes.
And some of it, to be honest, is generational. Is as we move, people get more used to doing electronics and so forth, then it becomes more natural, and those things happen. So really, you have to kind of move the tools and the system with that movement and really what people expect and how they interact. So it's a double road, or a parallel road that we have to do.
Well, I think most of us are ready to do that, but by state statute, there's some items that we can't, we could probably database them, but we'd still have to keep hard copies.
Correct.
Too, so.
That's correct.
So we're limited in what we can.
That's very well
can
put.
do.
But through your processes, you found out what we can minimize, what has to be kept and what doesn't. And so we're comfortable we can reach that point by the time we get in a new building. That's been the question that I've received a lot personally, is how up to speed are we going to be with this technology, going in this beautiful brand new building. They don't want to be, see boxes stored, and
exactly
moving forward.
And it made a lot of strides in the last several months too, no question.
And my team is going through a lot right now. We're going to a new system. We start training in March, April the 4th or 6th. Not sure on the dates because I've looked at dates all day long, but we're going live. Oh, well, there we go. March the 6th, where our training will begin, and we changed that to the 3rd because we left out some individuals that we didn't mean to. And then on April the 3rd, we're preparing to get everything done, and April 4th we'll go live with one section with the circuit criminal. So in April, May, and June, my staff is going live with a new system. So along with that, we are very much planning to get organized because we want it to be top-notch when we move. We don't want any mistakes, and when we open those doors the next day, when we can open our doors in our new judicial building, we want to look like we got it going on. And we will have it going on because it'll be organized. We'll have a new system. We'll be top notch for Murfreesboro, for Rutherford County.
She's talking about this new software, Tensis, is what so they should be finished with it by July the 1st.
Oh, yeah. It'll go, the last go live is June the 5th.
The interaction with that Tensis, when you did that Knox County project, was it involved with the same program?
It was, actually, that was not involved with software,
Okay.
that particular project.
Will this be the first time that Tensis integration you'll have experienced that?
It could very well be, but, I mean, we did have a full demo and session with Brian where he got to speak with our technical folks. And again, that open architecture should not be an issue.
Well, you were talking more about the software itself, though, right? When you
Well,
said
no, I was
open-
talking, the bullet point they had here was one of the interactions would be with the transition to Tensis. So the work you did in Knox County, is that right?
Correct.
I was just wondering if that was the same thing you had done or whether this will be kind of the first go-around.
It would be, but again, considering the fact that there, I believe Tensis' SQL should not be an issue creating that integration.
We're just a little gun shy because we've had a little
Not as good
software
as
issue
me.
before.
Understood.
So it feels a little bit better when somebody says, well, we've done this before.
What are the wishes of the committee?
Now, I'll give you my reaction. I think it's an impressive proposal, but it seems to me like we ought to be able to do some of this, or maybe even a lot of this ourselves.
Are you kidding?
I mean, every department in the county could ask for assistance with their files. I mean, I know this committee spent a lot of money tonight, and I voted for all of it, but $304,000 for help labeling files and getting it organized it just doesn't seem like it's the next highest priority to me.
I don't.
Yeah, I think we're at a critical point moving in this new building. I mean, if we weren't moving in a new building, we could start down a path and do this over the next 3 to 5 years and maybe bring on a couple of more employees. But we've got a timeline, and we don't want to, personally, I don't want to move an antiquated system into a new building and then be doing the labor twice by moving it all, losing half of it, then trying to reorganize and start over. But I'm sorry, I cut you off, Commissioner Jernigan.
This is a lot of work.
Well, I mean,
A big
really,
job.
truly, I mean, her staff, I think, is more than fully occupied with just the day-to-day. You just
And they're still
hundreds and
working.
hundreds of, how many cases per year? It's astounding
Yeah.
what they're having to manage.
And we're still working. Y'all were at a meeting. I got 5 over there working.
I think your point, Mr. Chairman, is just right on. I mean, this is the prime opportunity. This is the window, to kind of say, get your house in order. So when we move into the new building, as Melissa said, we're really efficient. We're right on target with file organization and management.
And again, this is not coming from a designated fund balance. This is something that's in a fund that's very restricted. We can't take this and use this on, we can make it, move it a little bit around, but we can't use this on anything besides this type of thing.
I agree with the scope of the project. There's no way I think that something like this could be done by the staff on top of already what they're doing. Where I've got an issue with it a little bit is we've known this building was coming along for a while, and to me, I feel personally kind of like we're rushing into the $304,000. No disrespect to your proposal, I think it's fantastic, but that's a lot of money regardless of where it's coming from, and I just feel uncomfortable only seeing one presentation and knowing that we only talked to one provider on this. I just feel like the due diligence of more than one provider would have been something that maybe I would have felt better about, or at least known that we went through those steps before we just see it one evening here in 20 minutes and then spend the $304,000.
Let me ask Cindy, in response to that, if I might, just to talk about some of your other jurisdictions and some of your other clients and kind of what has taken place there in reference to your point.
Okay, sure, yeah, kind of the area that we're working in is very, very specialized, so it's not a matter of, doing a web search and finding a bunch of other people that do exactly what we do. I mean, it is incredibly specialized. So, we can certainly talk about some other clients that we've worked with, other counties that we've worked with in other capacities. Of course, I think we really haven't gone down the road of providing some specific references, but we could certainly do that as well.
Yeah, no, that's kind of my point. I think trying to get to your point, I mean, the list of clients that they showed there, and really that experience is what they bring to the table.
Right.
I mean, they bring that to the table, and it's going to be hard to find that level and that amount of experience from any other company. So, I guess in saying that, that's the reason that we feel fairly comfortable that this is the right road and the right company and the time to proceed with it, because just the experience they bring to the table. It's hard to find that kind of experience. I mean, it really is.
I might be able to help them a little bit if am I able to speak?
Sure.
So just two or three quick comments. We did this with Mecklenburg County and Charlotte about 7 years ago. We're now helping them go paperless. So it took them that long to get all their paper documents in order and get everything database and get everything indexed, so they then could start using barcodes to index and start scanning documents. And they're not going back and scanning everything, but they're going back a couple of years and then going day forward. And so I've been doing this for 31 years, started in '85. I know Cindy's been doing it for 29. And we could also give you a couple of projects where we did the upfront work like Cindy has done right now. Not to pat ourselves on the back, and we don't wish any ill will on anyone that doesn't choose to go with someone such as us, but we just did a large project up to this point in Fort Lauderdale in Broward County. And so if you'd like to talk to those people who did not go our direction and are still in a big mess trying to get through all of their paper documents to get moved over to their new facility, it can be a nightmare. If you don't know what you're doing, if you're not detailed, if you're not organized, it can be an absolute nightmare. And there used to be 5 to 6 companies nationally when I started in this business back in the mid-'80s. It's going to be hard to find someone. You might be able to find someone that would take this on, but it's just not, as everyone is going electronic, a lot of the sort of the paper managers and the paper-based companies have sort of fallen to the wayside. So it is a very laborious task. I mean, it is going to be a ton of man hours in doing this. But the other, and I totally agree with you that in terms of the software, and I know you got stung, that this really technically doesn't interface with Tensys and won't interface with Tensys. I mean, it is a barcode tracking system that documents and manages paper, whereas Tensys is getting you ready to go into that electronic world. But what you have to do is you have to get all this organized to go paperless. So if you didn't do this at all and you decided in 2 years I want to go paperless, you're going to have to spend that kind of money just to get those documents organized enough to get them into a process so that you can go electronic. I agree with you. You look at it, $304,000 to move file folders, to convert file folders, sounds like a huge number. But that's what it is. It is a tough, laborious task, and it's just that hard thing that you've got to do in order to take the next step so that you're going electronic and then creating a ton of efficiencies.
And again, I don't doubt y'all's credentials or work history or the size of the job or the task or even close to the cost. It's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
Just what I don't feel comfortable with is only seeking one resource, one proposal, one idea, and one perspective on it. At the very least, 2 or 3 other people might provide you some valuable insight as to the value that they bring to the table. I've talked to people in my business. I'll talk to 2 other corporations and I'll say, wow, I'm glad I talked to the first people. So that's my apprehension around it.
Did this go through property management, or were you the first group to see this proposal?
you're the first group to see this proposal. PBA's been working on this for months, and they've already spent months really evaluating and reviewing what the scope of this project will actually be. The firm has.
PBA it has been through the PBA.
Oh, yeah, but we determined that PBA can't actually spend the money out of the funds they have allocated because it's more operationally oriented than capital expenditures, you might say, construction cost. There's probably not anybody else for sure that is on within a buying program that's available for us to buy off of without issuing RFPs and taking bids. This may be the only one that's listed anywhere that a county or any public entity can purchase this kind of service from.
And y'all did say that they are actually on contract already?
Yes, that's how these numbers came from within that NJPA contract, I think it is.
So this has been at least a competitive bid to get that contract.
But I don't know how you get on these things, but I mean, these are...
It has to be a competitive.
A competitive bid, so although we're not taking, it's just like buying those dump trucks while they go off the state bid. We're not taking the bids, but the state took the bids to buy those dump trucks that the highway department's buying. That's much to do with dump trucks.
And the window, we have to look at the window of the move now.
Why can't we pass this on to the full commission with no recommendation then, since we've got some problem, and check with Broward, a big county, and Mecklenburg, and Wake County in North Carolina, Raleigh-Durham. They're all large cities that are going to have a lot of county buildings in those. Why can't, we've got a week, why can't we check with them and find out why they went with Patterson Pope?
Because this committee going to do their job themselves.
I'm looking at like not waiting another month.
We'll do whatever the committee chooses.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a company on state.
Either we're going to have to hire somebody, and she's not equipped to even define the project, and hire 10 people to do it. It just won't happen.
I would think it'd be tough just to write the RFP. You know, to define what
and that's
you would
going
be
to fall
looking for.
on me to write an RFP, and I don't know enough about it to write it. We need somebody like them to write the RFP.
The RFP for records management, electronic records management.
To describe what we need to do from start to finish right here.
Can they do it?
Well, then, I'll do it this way then. I'll make a motion that we accept the recommendation, but that we do choose 3 counties or cities that are on this list that they have shown us tonight that they work for, and that the county office calls those counties or cities and find out why they chose Patterson Pope.
Who are you asking to make that call, Ms. Harrell or the mayor?
Either one, whoever's the best person available. Mayor would probably get better, answers quicker, I would think. But, I mean, to me, if they've got those cities and counties listed down there, then they must have been happy with the work they did for them, and vice versa, or they sure wouldn't list them on there for us to see. That's what I would think.
So is your motion to move this forward with
Yes.
a positive recommendation?
Yes.
Contingent upon somebody making these phone calls, basically?
Yeah, that's the only thing. So then
Basically, a motion to approve and report back at the
Yeah, then
commission
we can
meeting.
read it to commission a week from tonight. It's got to go there anyhow.
So am I interpreting it? It's basically a motion to approve and asking the mayor or Ms. Harrell to report back at the commission meeting the results of these phone calls before we vote on it at the full commission. This will not be on the consent agenda.
Right.
It's too big an item to be on that consent agenda.
Just coming up on, this is a motion to approve the budget amendment, because that's the key point. Okay.
We basically have a motion to approve the budget amendment with the stipulation we make some phone calls and report those results of those phone calls next week. Do I have a second?
I'll second it under this condition that he changes that to, we get positive referrals from these groups. If we get negative referrals back from, say,
Well, I
the
would
three
think,
people,
that-
then.
I would think
then I would-
what the reports are would dictate the way we would all vote next week.
Yes.
You know, because if he might get
Well, I mean, the
two
way
good
it's
and one
worded,
bad, you know, so I mean,
if it, the way it was worded, I mean, it didn't matter, you know, how.
it's still gonna come up on the full commission. We'll just all get the, but we'll get the report, hopefully, from one of you. I'd ask you to please be at the commission meeting next week, Ms. Harrell. But I mean, is that cloudy enough for everybody? Okay, we got a motion and a second.
I don't think you got a second.
I thought you said you second.
I
Subject
said
to a positive
subject to
referral.
positive review.
Yeah. Well, is that a second or?
If he accepts that,
Well, I think we'll find out at the commission anyhow, so I think it'd be kind of redundant, because if we receive poor reports, I sure wouldn't vote for it then. So that's why I don't think that's needed, but if it'll make you happy, then I'll say a positive result.
you got your second.
Okay, so we've got a second. Everybody clear enough on this? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bob?
No.
Commissioner Jernigan?
No.
Commissioner Kaplan?
No.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
We have a tie.
Okay, we have a tie.
So it dies.
Motion dies. Do we have any more motions? I think we need to move this forward and get a report and let the full commission decide on this personally. 'Cause if we have to back up our RFP, take how long to do it, how long to advertise, how long to accept bids, we could not start this process till late summer or something like that, you know?
My thought is if there's probably a better chance than not that if you do an RFP, you'll get no responses. That's where I think you'll end up. I think you'll get no responses.
Except from this group right here.
Yeah, except for this group right here. And I
This
think
number
that
being
what
off
we'll-
state bid could go up.
I think what we will have done at that point is we will have spent probably 3 months of really valuable time.
In the meantime, we need to think about building schools and getting public safety salaries in line, and we can use that time as well.
Well, we've got a building opening at a certain date, and we've got to be prepared.
These files
we
are
knew about this.
usable right now. They can, I mean, it's not like it's the files we've got don't have this system in place. They don't have barcodes on them right now, so.
Well, and again, just to repeat, some of the things it said, what it's going to create is more FTE. I think Melissa's going to be coming to you for more FTE. That's the path you're on. So, I mean, what you're doing is you're avoiding cost at this point in time, and you're avoiding that adding on of those FTEs. Because the rate that the files and that are growing and the demand on her area and also the clerk and master, are getting to the point where it's very difficult to manage. And the only way she's going to be able to do that is more and more staff. So she needs the tools. And you need to help her really get the tools and the management systems in place to help her manage those.
Well, I don't like moving something forward without a recommendation from this committee, because I feel like, well, we're not really doing anything. Under these circumstances, try this. Let's move this, I make a motion, we move this to the full commission without a recommendation. Let them then present to the full commission and also show the references from the counties and municipalities that they mentioned. So I put that in the form of a motion.
$300,000.
We'll have a motion to move forward with that without a recommendation.
I'll second it.
Second. Okay. I don't know if this motion is substantially, if we had an attorney here, they might tell us this motion was not substantially different from the one we just had, but
can you just help me out? Just what was the reasoning for not coming to us 3 or 4 or 5 months ago to let us know that maybe we'd be doing this, or we should put out an RFP. I mean, this is a lot of money.
I wasn't really aware of all the things that could be done until I got involved with Jerry, and then he introduced me to Cindy. I didn't really know what all they could do. I didn't know what all was out there. I never shopped for equipment I've been on the software mission and doing that, but I never.
I think that's a fair question in the sense that it's a matter of really designing the filing systems and beginning to design the building and designing the equipment that's going to go in there and understanding the active files, the inactive files, and the confidential files, and then really getting a handle on the volume of those and the growth of those, and then getting this company to help us identify those and measure those. And they went through every file room and measured every file cabinet, in there, and that's the 10 pages that she has there. And so I guess it's just been a transition of the building and the building schedule and the design schedule that's got us here tonight. Is building that information, the more and more that we've evaluated, the files and what the files are going to need, and the organization of those has got us here tonight, and that's just been the schedule. I guess if we'd have started that earlier, we'd have been earlier, but it's just the process of the design of the building, the design of the files, the design of the equipment, and then the design of the systems to organize the files.
Was there not some question as to whether this would fall under the PBA and be included in the actual construction of the building? 'Cause I had a PBA member alert me to this 60 days ago as this was coming, because there was a conflict over where this money would come from, whether it be part of the bond issue. If it was part of the bond issue, it would have just been done through the PBA and would have been done out of the proceeds from the building. So that's what, because I was told this was coming, it would be around $300,000 just to basically prep everything for the move.
And what we did is we went to the PBA and discussed that with them, and the question came up of the funding and the utilization of the funding. So that's when I believe Lisa really contacted the bond attorney to see where we were with the funding, and said that we really needed, it was more operational and that we needed a different type of funding. So that took us a little bit of time to really go through that process as well.
Well, we've got another motion that is to forward it, basically to forward it without a recommendation. Am I shortening that too much? And I mean, that's pretty much it, isn't it? And if this motion passes, the mayor or Ms. Harrell will make the phone calls and verify some of these references and report back at the commission meeting. Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
No.
Commissioner Jernigan?
No.
Commissioner Kaplan?
No.
Commissioner Petty?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. We're right where we were.
Well, maybe we can...
Some of you folks that have voted no, what do you really want us to do? What, if you were stepping out of here after this meeting, what would be your first, if you were in charge of this process, what would you do next?
Well, maybe one option would be to get, send out a request for proposals. You may not get any back, but in the meantime...
Well, I'm going to have to write something, Mr. Baum, that's probably pages long to really describe exactly what we want this group to do, okay? So,
well, in this...
Or we could contact Williamson County, ask them for the RFP that they put out when they moved the building. They'll probably give it to us.
now, is this the file moving? We're just talking about files here. We're not talking about the rest of the moving.
Yes.
This isn't moving.
This doesn't involve any files moving.
This is moving the files and records management.
No,
This is redoing the file. This is modernizing the filing system.
This doesn't involve...
It's not just
not
boxing them
moving
up. I
files
mean,
at
they're
all.
already in some sort of boxes.
During the time when this request goes out, it probably take a little bit of time, and then this can be folded back in the normal budget process, when we'll probably get $1.5 to $2 million in requests for new software and new folders and that kind of stuff, and we can evaluate all this stuff at once, along with salary adjustments and schools and tax increases.
I understand that what our your question is, but I think what's happening is we're being stressed by the timeline, and these were things that we knew were going to have to be done, and I don't think it's the right decision to make just because now that we've lost a little bit of time. we've lost a little bit of time, we've got a little bit more time. For me personally, to answer your question, I would like to know that we looked at more than one option. It's just simple for me. If I'm gonna go to my bosses and spend $300,000, I come with 2, 3, 4 different options of due diligence. I just don't think it's wise for us to spend this much money without having 2 or 3 options have been considered in this big of a project. It should have been done.
Well, we knew at some point in time we were going to have to secure these files somehow, some way. And the barcoding is, to me, the answer. And I know that Miss Cindy has come in and spent hours.
I don't doubt any of that.
I feel that she's very confident in this job.
Absolutely.
I hope you listen to her carefully, because I'm sure she's not going to let us have her work papers for me to write an RFP from. That's what it's going to take for me to write an RFP. Okay, we can talk to Williamson County, we can talk to anybody else we can talk to see if there's another option.
You know, and not to just belabor it and use up your time, but you know, Montgomery County went through this very thing. They built this almost the same building 16 years ago. They didn't take this step. You know, and what they're doing now is we have a shell floor. The 4th floor of this building is going to be shell. And the schedule is to fill it out in 15 years is what it is. And that's what Montgomery County is doing right now. You know, and what they're dealing with is what they should have dealt with, 15 years ago. You know, and they didn't do it. And, you know, and I've been tracking that project and the problems that they're having there. And you know, they've got that 15-year-old, 16-year-old problem that was already 15 or 16 years old when that happened. So, like I say, this is really the opportunity for you to take, this step and really organize the files. I think it's a cost-saving thing in the future. I know that the county's pressured for, other expenditures, and I understand that fully. But you're looking at, her particular, area and more FTE, more cost, and so forth. So it's really a critical time. And I understand your concerns and everything, but we think they have brought that, the expertise we need to the table to do that. I have actually looked and calculated all the manpower cost. I've broken it down per hour, that they're gonna put on the job. Looked at the hourly rates that's going to be. It's very, very fair, in that sense. So I think we're getting a good proposal for a good price, and it's a good opportunity to do that. But if you choose not to, then it just makes it difficult. And the one thing, it's just like moving your house. And I'm sorry to take your time, but it's just like moving your house. If you don't clean up and purge and organize before you go and you move it into the new house, then you never get back to it.
Would it help? I think both of you guys are on property management, all right? Would it help if these guys presented to property management to y'all? Maybe there's, something else can come out of the discussion. We maybe have a little more time to draw out, the pluses. For instance, if you've already studied what the manpower costs are going to be and what it's going to, you can compare it to what it would take us if we had to hire 10 people to do this.
We had to hire 9, that's 300,000 plus insurance.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think if y'all show them that, that might change their mind.
Well, there it is. Hire 9 employees, we got 300,000 plus insurance.
What is that, the recommendation, send this to property management? Let it
I'll
circle
make a motion
circle
to
back?
send it to property management.
It really doesn't have anything to do with property. It's all about an operational.
Software.
What do you want to do, Commissioner Journey? You voted no on the last 2 motions. We can move it to the commission anyway.
I think we've already voted on that stuff. We need to talk about the next high school.
We haven't passed a motion either way. We haven't voted to deny or to approve anything, so.
Well, the motions have failed, so unless somebody else has another suggestion, it's off the table.
And it's not like I'm borrowing money. The money's there. It's the clerk's money.
It's my understanding it was set aside for that purpose too, for file
Set aside
management.
for growing
File
forward.
management and archiving. The money was really already allocated for that purpose.
So it's there. I'm not borrowing. I'm not gonna make taxes go up. I've got the money. And I understand what you're saying as a business owner, but this to me is critical. And I feel in my heart and in my business mind that she is the one for the job. Like I said, she came in, she immediately started measuring. She said, oh, y'all need this, you need this, you need this. It's amazing what she can do. Granted, there may be other companies that can do that, but I don't want a company that's just gonna halfway do that and not take this as serious as I'm taking it.
But we don't have a frame of reference.
I understand that. But we also have a frame of time, and I understand you feel like you're being rushed, and it's rushed, but it's very important. This is critical. This is a huge historical move.
I don't know what the motion would sound like, but just to reiterate what my stance is on it, I would like for her to speak to, meet with, consult with at least 2 more companies. We maybe don't have to go through the full extensive amount, but I don't know what that motion looks like, but I think we need some sort of frame of reference. And that's nothing against your company at all. I think you've given a great presentation. Obviously, you're an expert in your field, in your area. I just think that for the constituents, we need to show that if we're going to spend this amount of money in one meeting and look at one presentation, like we got to be able to say that we looked at and did our due diligence on it.
We've got 2 motions, either one have passed, so if nothing else, we move on, and you can bring it back next month with more information. You can brainstorm with the mayor about the best possible procedure from here. Unless somebody, or was it, I mean, that wasn't a motion, I don't think, was it? I mean,
Well, I mean, we're not going to give up on doing something, whatever that might turn out to be. And I'm going to do everything I can to see if there's 2 more companies out there, first. And then secondly, I'm going to do what we have to do to at least get some references. And I will talk to Williamson County. I'll do those 3 things without a motion. Okay? I'm not promising. I'm doubtful I'm going to be successful on finding 2 more companies.
And we can even, and I'm even going to do some due diligence on my own part. And if we come back here 30 days from now, and we're each able to ask some questions, or we're able to share some information among each other, we might be at the point that we feel comfortable moving forward with this decision. I think my thing is just the time. We've seen it, we see the expense in the limited amount of time, and that might just be just what we need. And so 30 days isn't gonna, I don't think, gonna kill our timeline.
okay. Well, short of a motion? Or this is
Table.
table this at least, or
Next
leave it up to the
budget finance
mayor,
meeting.
Ms. Harold, to put it back on next month's agenda if things proceed,
Yeah, we'll put it on the agenda.
and we'll move forward. If everybody's okay.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about a high school then.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
We appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Is it? Huh?
That's the printer.
Is it your jump drive? Is it yours? Welcome.
Thank you.
Yoda, Florida,
Hey,
Mr. Sandy.
Of course,
Mr. Reed, you want to have a chair for someone? Okay.
Okay. You know, did you get one of these?
course, our purpose, expert, they didn't do it.
Our purpose tonight is to follow up on the Health and Aid Committee for a request for the Rockville High School. Give you a little bit of information just quickly, try to do it. I think the top page, Rutherford County Schools, high school students, Mr. Sandvik did this for us. This is, I think, probably your top sheet. This starts a year before we opened Stewart's Creek, so you kind of go back to 12-13, you look up there now. Basically what we've added is 494 students a year to our high school numbers, so we're growing roughly 500 students per year in high school. That's just kind of perspective for you to see what we're doing. I think the second sheet, I've been doing this for you for several months now. This is one, because it's kind of got some of our attendance information. This was taken yesterday, this was taken yesterday. We have 43,860 students, according to the database enrolled in Rutherford County Schools. The far right, the little arrows, are any school that's grown 4% or more this year. That number is now 17. Last time you saw it, maybe in 16. Couple of notes towards the bottom. We've now grown 1,211 students for this year. That's at the bottom. A couple of other notes that I just kind of put down there for you. First month we had 43,642, so we're up a little 200 students during the year. Our total enrollment, this is K-12 because this is where ADM funding comes from. And the very bottom note, far right, if you count your preschool, you count those that are part-time. See, we have to handle special ed students from 3 years old through 21. So some of those would be partial days and all in that, but we really have 44,475 students, if you want to know, if you count all of those together, okay? So just kind of some information. The spreadsheet, a couple of something there. You're looking about halfway down Rockville High School. Total cost $58,970,000. We've already the design money that's in blue, $1,962,000. The others to do some of the site, other information, we've done some internal borrowing, right, Ms. Dublin, I think, with that. So I'm not sure exactly what the number is we have to borrow for that. You can straighten that out for them, I think.
All of it.
Okay. Because we borrowed against the other, okay? We did an update tonight, a little bit today, on some other areas that got updated there from what you saw in the fall. We've not had to do that in the past, but construction costs, read the newspaper Monday morning, 11% increase, and also, it's the first time I've seen we've actually had to adjust kind of the possible cost as the year goes on. But anyway, that's it's updated Siegel High there, Oakland Middle Annex, Laverne Middle Addition. So what I did for the school board, and this is another sheet that kind of clustered it together for you. If you'd like to look at this one, it's kind of clustered together. What kind of spurred this was the question that Mr. Phillips asked during Health and Ed. He said, "Are you going to come back and ask for anything else? Where are you in that process?" And so one of my purposes tonight is to try to answer his questions, because I think if that's a question, it's a question, and we'll try our best to answer. So clustered together there to take a look at, and all of this that's on this sheet came from this sheet. I mean, it's not new projects, it just came from this sheet. It's just clustered to where it might have an impact. Rockville High up there, of course, we'll have to rezone almost all the high schools, but you can kind of see that number that we're talking about. The board tonight in their meeting said, please stress to them, we want to get rid of portables. And some of the things we're looking at was right close to 150 portables, that some of these projects could remove up to 63 of them, but one of them counted up. So that's it. Rocky Fork Elementary was the second one, which is the one we expected, you expected. In that particular case, we did see some decline a little bit in Cedar Grove this year, David Urey a little bit. We did see a huge increase at Rock Springs Elementary there, 6.7%. We're going to reevaluate something that is right down on the line, but it's growing, and the farm next to it is sold. So that's going to be a real issue for us there. They're building out houses fairly quickly. So the other, Stewart's Creek Elementary, 5.1%. We don't really have anything to replace that either. So that it's an issue for us in elementary. I'm not going to read all the others. There's Siegel High Addition, Oakland Middle Annex there. That's really an issue for us there. 2.9% growth at Oakland Middle already with 1,096. Siegel Middle, 7.3% this year with 1,127 students right now there. So that's an issue for us in that particular case. And we're moving additional portables in. The numbers on portables on the side here, we're moving, I think it was 18 portables at John Coleman. They're being moved to other schools. So these numbers reflect where they will be relocated from John Coleman. So zeroing out John Coleman, putting them somewhere else. So anyway, that's some information for you to look at in that sense. So,
am I looking at this correct?
Okay.
Now you're saying Rocky Fork Elementary will be immediately?
No,
It
that's
says June 17. That's
that was the original construction date, but tonight board voted to make a change in that.
okay. So this
Okay,
is
so if you'll look, we're listening to you and trying to find some way to work here. There's one here. This was the color motion tonight. It's on the old business. Okay. The first motion they had tonight was to adjust the cost. The other motion they had tonight, and here's what they approved: to instruct staff, that would be myself and the other two sitting here, to inform the Rutherford County Commission that Rutherford County Schools will not be requesting construction funds for Rocky Fork Elementary School to be included in the Commission's September 2017 borrowing request. So that was one of the things we talked about. We're not going to say add Rocky Fork Elementary. We saw some decline in enrollment to deal with that. All of the issues are there. However, in lieu of Rocky Fork Elementary, the Rutherford County School Board will reprioritize school additions to address enrollment capacity needs and submit subsequent requests to the Health and Education Committee in time for you to consider for your September 2017 borrowing. So what we're saying, you were kind of concerned of startup cost and that sort of thing associated with it. Mr. Savage done some calculation. I'm not as worried about startup costs for the elementary. The high school will be the $4 million or so. His calculation for an elementary startup was probably in the $1 million to $1.5 million, $1.4 million or so. Which out of a $340 million budget, you remember Mr. Gill sat here and promised that he would open Stewart's Creek with enough out of Indian fund balance. And we may be able to do that with elementary too. Be very afraid to tell you we can do both out of an Indian fund balance. And what I think our board is looking at in this particular case, our purpose tonight is to try to start Rockville High School, fund that. But I think what they're saying to you is, we can't wait 2 years and do nothing else, or 3. It will not work in Rutherford County. You know, we wouldn't be truthful if we said that with the portable situation. So they are looking at some of these other things that I saw on your sheet here, such as something's at Oakland Middle Annex or Laverne Middle Addition, which we didn't plan to move up, and that was 2021. But we just had to move this year 3 portables into Laverne Middle. Didn't anticipate that at all at the start of the year. And they just approved another whole set of buildings in Laverne, with the townhomes and all. It's near Roy Waldron. You just finished Roy Waldron Elementary Edition. I'm now instructing Gary to go back and take a look and see if there's a way to add another elementary edition there. Because if you look at Laverne Lake, and we cannot add it to Laverne Lake, we do not have space. Something's got to happen there. So it's a little bit like popcorn. I mean, while the largest growth is in middle and high, these subdivisions and areas, it's been approved now with over 100 homes or so, or 750 homes in one case. He's just really working us over right now to try to keep up. So you wouldn't have startup costs if we do any of these additions. but it would be the borrowing in order to get to that point. And correct me, I think now, if I'm wrong, you did provide us some information that said something like the Rockville High School, which and we're working on David here, we're working on Smyrna Middle, was something like 63 million, maybe and some more dollars. If we add on the Rocky Fork Elementary, you were talking 91 million, am I correct on that? So it would probably be somewhere between those two figures if we picked the additions. Have I made it just as muddy as?
You said something at the start that bothered me. I mean, and I can appreciate the school board wanting to get out of the portable business. We've got to keep up with growth. I don't want to be out buying a bunch of new portables, but I don't think we can be parking in the ones we got either. You know, I mean, they're functioning. We've got to keep on using what we can. I mean, in my opinion, if we can keep up with growth and stay at par, we're doing good. But trying to get rid of 40 or 50 portables is unrealistic, you know, in my opinion, you know.
They're anticipating those phone calls that's going to come. The people at John Coleman, where they had those, didn't never call us much. Where they're being placed now, there'll be calls.
My kids,
and you may get them too.
My kids are both out of the school system. They both spent time in portables in their time, you know, and it's, in a perfect world, you know, we'd have a nice shiny classroom for every child, but my desire is to have a classroom for every child.
I agree.
And if they have to spend a year or take a class every day for a high school kid or something like that in a portable, then we've got to keep up with growth before we start worrying about you're getting in the wants to the needs when you say we start saying you're going to get rid of portables. Sorry.
I was just going to say with the Rockville High School, for instance, and the Oakland Middle annex, that would have the possibility of affecting 40 portables or freeing a percentage of those up. So those would be available to move other areas.
They would still probably get moved somewhere instead of just being done away with.
And it costs us 14 to 16,000. It's more expensive in the city just to move, put your ramps back up, electrical, all you have to do. So just and a new double wide 60 to 65, somewhere in that. Last time
we haven't bought any portables since.
We have a long time, but it's somewhere in that range probably.
I just hope we look ahead when we move portables. But I've seen a few instances where we move some out, and a year later we're moving some back, and we want to avoid those circumstances. Which I know you guys do a good job forecasting, but that's 14,000 out, 14,000 back. You know.
I cannot speak for the board tonight which projects they will do. I didn't force them to do that, but I can tell you in their talk and conversation, the Oakland Middle, with them just approved within the last month or so, 140 or 50 on the Elrod property that's adjacent to it. You approved purchasing the property on that side to move the athletic fields, so we'd be looking at an addition that would be about like Blackman Middle School there, and locate the athletic fields on the other side. Hopefully with that we could help reduce some on the Siegel side. We could handle the growth that's on 96 towards Lascassas with that major 150 or so subdivision. Whatever comes out of that area on the Elrod property is being built there, and then the other, which you know, up towards Milton, towards what we call 12 Corner, up in that area with those. So will they add another one to it? I can't tell you exactly. We need to analyze it a little bit more, but we will not be able to stop with Rockville High. I'm just being honest.
Well, Commissioner Allen couldn't be here tonight, and of course she's the chairman of Health Net. I sat on Health Net, and you know what Jeff Phillips, Commissioner Phillips, was getting at is high school's a 2-year project, elementary school's a 1-year project. We don't want to be approving a 2-year project today, and in 9 or 10 months you're back saying, hey, we need an elementary school, and all of a sudden we're opening 2 schools at the exact same time. So that's where he was coming from. But I know it's hard for you guys to have a crystal ball and know exactly what's going to be going on 12, 15 months from now. But
are you forecasting the Siegel High addition for our September borrowing to be approved in June of 2000?
I don't know whether they'll try to include that one or not. That area is not growing for us right now. You live in that area. How much was that across the road from them supposed to be? You two would know. What that was approved right across?
Across from, there's 2 different developments there. One's townhomes. It's around 60, I believe, and then there's houses next door, which is 100 plus. Now how long, they're not even, they just started moving dirt this week. I mean,
It's early.
And then the other one up the street's focused for seniors, 34 lots, 55, but that all not affect us, you know, so you're still a ways where you got to worry about influx from those.
Those two major subdivisions, since we first did this building plan and we worked on it and approved it in October, those have been approved.
But Siegel High's been flat.
It has.
I've been watching it the last year. It's been kind of flat.
It's not developing down Jefferson High.
There's only so much dirt over
Yeah.
there.
That's my district
not
back there.
where-
It runs into the lake
Yeah.
back there, and you run out of spots, you know.
What are y'all's thoughts, and Mayor, what's your thoughts about our current educational impact fee and where we're at and what some of the other counties are doing right now in order to continue raise funds? I know it's not a popular discussion, but have you monitored and seen what they've recently been doing? Like, for example, over in Williamson County, they raised it in November 17th meeting, and they did a per
He used
square
to build
foot
houses
schedule.
over there. Let him tell you what he
Yeah.
told me this morning.
This is in the 90s. I used to go maybe pick up 5 permits at a time, but it wasn't unusual to take a check down here for $120,000 at that time to get 5 houses.
In the
started.
1990s.
That's 1994.
What's our?
So I don't know exactly what they are now, but I know they've increased.
Is it now?
since then.
1,500?
1,500.
It's flat.
Hours is, yeah.
It's not based on square footage.
No, they're based on square
You
footage.
can't adjust it without going through the legislature.
But the legislature just passed it for Williamson County.
I don't know how their private act is written, but when we went to legislature before, we came back with nothing. So we've made that trip to Nashville before, several years
We
ago.
talked about that recently, like maybe 2 years ago.
We came back.
I know
with
we asked for legislation 04, 05, 06 before the downturn and got nothing.
Well, they
They
passed
messed up
that,
pretty
they passed
bad.
that one law that preempted everything where you can't put up anything new. And if you already had something in place, like Williamson County already had their stuff in place, and it is on the square footage, so they still have that. But I've heard that they've added some other impact fee, and I don't know how they've done that.
Yeah, they based it on square footage over there.
But that's been in place. I know how that works. You know, that was before they passed this law that stopped anyone else from putting in an impact fee.
Oh.
But this new thing, I don't know quite how they've managed
Well,
that.
it was based on square footage over there. The ones he's talking about, 13,000, they're talking like was 3,500 square foot or more, something like that, graduated.
Outside the special school district. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, I would be curious to know what type of impact would it make on our budget. You know, Commissioner Baum has said a couple of times in the past, like, you know, we're kind of looking down the road here, and these might be some things that we need to at least start looking at.
Well,
Like, I would just be interested.
$1,500 is generating, let's say, $6 million a year right now.
Okay.
So if you doubled it, you'd get $6 more million on our current single family.
$1,500 per permit.
Per permit.
In relation to.
Per single family residence
It's
or
paid
unit.
$750 by the developer of the lots and $750 by the builder of the house,
And
which is usually two different people.
We're just not sure whether we're able to legally.
We
don't think we are.
cannot.
Here we
right
are.
now.
I've got to find out how they managed to make this recent increase. I don't understand that.
So on a 2,400 to 2,899 square foot dwelling in Williamson County, it's $8,788. 1,900 to 2,399 was $7,220, and 1,400 to an 1,800 square foot home was $5,317. So just taking ours from 1,500 to 3,000 would make a pretty significant impact. Theirs is going to raise $340 million over 5 years, which sounds pretty nice, but I think they've gone way too aggressive, and the developers and the housing industry came out against that for sure.
I don't
But
think it really matters to them if it slows down some of the
Slows
building
them
too.
down, they coming to us.
right, they're gonna come. But I would just be interested to know if we could maybe start looking at and forecasting what type of impact that could make for us on our budget and what type of pressure it could take off. It'd be a good, healthy discussion.
Well, I
to
think you're
continue to
right.
have.
We don't really know enough about it. We've asked. People say you can't do it. That kind of ends the conversation, but there may be more to it than that.
If the one we currently had escalators already built in before they passed the law, we could go on forever.
Williamson County did a moratorium for a while too, and the developers were then all excited about, we will pay more just to get to develop.
Yeah, I think they beat a path down to the legislature to get it
It was interesting.
raised, and then, so they could start building again.
Well, I wonder why we didn't see that in their original meetings, because that should have come up. I've never seen that in any of the legislative reviews that have been sent out.
That's been a
No.
while. It's been a little while.
Of course, they had to do this last
Thought you said
legislative
last
session
year.
for it to be effective.
Well, they just passed.
Or
You
else
think
we hadn't
could
had
at
this
least-
session
I
yet.
think we can at least get it indexed, adjusted for inflation.
Doesn't look like they're gonna get the gas tax. No, they might not.
Yeah, our 1,500 in 1994 or 5, whenever it was
Losing
finished,
ground.
it doesn't go near as far as
Because
it now
does
as it did
today.
20 years ago, 23 years ago.
Right.
And just to kind of focus back kind of on the Rockville High, and you correct me if I'm wrong, we were paying, you said the other day, about 30 million a year in our borrowing is what we're paying off. And
I had that.
that was a
28.
28, okay. The Rockville High
20.
two-year build out, so you could do over that if you kind of try to amortize how long, what your pay is there, so. You could add some of the other additions or something, I think, in addition to that, and stay within a pretty reasonable borrowing range, because the high school is a two-year.
I think Mr. Reed made a good point when we were talking with, when you were discussing with EMT here earlier, and being competitive and having more people available. This high school will actually have an EMT training class in the CTE section of that with everything they need to learn to do that job once they're come out of high school. So that's one of the benefits that, you know, the point is being that it just will affect a lot of different things in the county, and that's a good effect.
We're approaching the 2 school per year again, folks. 2000, we'll bring you a new fact book to the meeting next week at the whole commission. We got the one that comes out each year, Mr. Evans prepares. 2006-07, Rutherford County schools grew around 1,800. I was around then. Some of the patterns that I'm seeing now with the building proposals and things that's going on, the growth during the school year, what I'm seeing, I'm not saying 1,800 next year, but I don't believe it'll be 12.
Well, if we're growing close to 3%, 2.84, you get to compound that growth.
You're right.
Because, years ago, we were growing off 35,000 students. Now we're growing off 43,000 students, nearly 44,000 students. So
Do you have any idea how many homeschool or in K through 8 in this county?
I do not. I mean, if they would, there's two types of homeschools. There's one called, under state law, it's called church-related, which is attached to some organization, may or may not be a church. And the other is where the parents have to do it themselves.
Yeah.
So we do have a lady in our office, if you decide to do it yourself, comes in that you're withdrawing from ours, fills it out. The state just still requires them at certain years to come in for testing. So we can kind of come up with that number, but the vast, vast majority of them are related to what they call church-related. Some of that's online, any of a number of things. So you.
Well, what I was
Yes.
wondering at is how many are coming over to our high school?
I think, I've said this before, I think you see, because our growth is in middle and high, that when you get to the point with colleges requiring foreign language, 4 years of math kind of expectation coming out now to get your high school diploma, 3 years of science. I think, and there's no better pupil teacher ratio than homeschool. If you can do it, it's a wonderful pupil teacher ratio. But I do think some are beginning to look now that, hey, it's an international market now and competitiveness internationally, so I think we are seeing some come back.
do you have any percentages how it drops off? Because all the people I've known that did it or are doing it, they all stop either at 7th grade or 9th grade at the latest, for exactly what you just said. It got where I couldn't help my kids with their homework very well once they got in the higher grades and some of the stuff, and stuff. So I just, I see people say they just practically can't they can handle it in third, fourth, fifth grade, but they just cannot get the curriculum across in the higher grade, so.
I don't understand that.
But you don't have any numbers, I don't guess.
I don't, but I think you could kind of look, when you look at the number, take your elementary down there, and one thing that you've seen has been interesting too, when I showed this to you before Christmas, the elementary growth was like 250 or so, and you kind of look at that number now, you're looking at the 290s. But typically, people, if they're going to move middle or high, they'll do it at the very start of the school year. But when families relocate with elementary, very often they'll come. So my guess is what we'll see, and we did see over the Christmas break, and the remainder of the year will be people relocating. You'll see the elementary numbers climb faster than the high school and middle for the remainder of this year, what I would expect.
Well, your $59 million for Rockville, is that turnkey, which we always say, or does it include the furniture and all that stuff?
That does. It's 59 million. We have 400,000 in there for site because we don't have to. I mean, what did I say? 400,000. I said four. I meant 4 million, and that will help us get a road out back that property and do some work on 99. We have an issue out there right now.
State's gonna make us do something.
We have a study. We've met with the state about doing some work on the road. Then there, for furniture, fixtures, and equipment, we have 44.9 million, 4.95, and then 48 for the construction, which comes to the 59 million you're talking about.
Well, we go back then, didn't we? I thought out there at Rockville, when we did the middle school, that we did some site preparation on all the land out there. But there's still gonna be 4 million after that?
Well, there's a road that goes out the back of the property to, what is that, Thompson Road? And then we're gonna have to put in probably some lanes out there. I've been trying to get the state to pay for that, but they will not pay for the lanes that need to go on the road to take care of the traffic. So we're gonna have to extend those lanes out. We have a problem right now that we're dealing with just the other two schools. When you start putting all those young folks, young drivers in there with automobiles for the high school, it's really gonna get busy, so.
Mr. Reed's gonna help direct traffic every afternoon.
So do you think the 59 will hold true when you go to bid one?
I think it will. That's one reason we try to get it out early and already started designing and everything, is we want to get out early before everybody loads up with the cheaper work so that it's higher when later in the year. So
I say Rocky Fork Elementary would be a little higher than that when we waited a year or 2 years.
yeah, it probably will, but we're doing, there's a lot of grading on that site too.
Maybe it was the Oakland Middle Annex was only 5 million less than what the school cost.
I'm not surprised at that.
Mr. Clardy's point on getting out to bid early, and we're really trying to do this with this project and trying to with all of our projects. When we wind up getting late approval, that it hurts us in our bid prices because the contractors know we will hold them to the contract. It doesn't do us, it really hurts us to open a school in September instead of 1st of August. And they will increase their bids, trying to, okay, if I run into more overtime, whatever like that, in order to get it done. Trying to avoid those issues and keep our costs as low as we can.
So what you're wanting tonight is approval for
Rockville High School.
Rockville. Yeah, I'll make the motion.
You'll get another shot at anything else.
I'll make the motion to move forward with Rockville High School.
So we got a motion to approve.
57 million, the same as Councilman Net approved.
Well, I do it for the entire project, for the whole project.
Okay.
We spent 1.9, we gotta be
But that really needs to wrap up into it.
58,970.
I would approve the project for the total.
We have a motion to approve Rockville High School.
I'll second it.
And a second.
Can't guarantee I'm going to vote on more schools, but I'm for one.
All right, any further discussion? Sorry, did I make?
No.
Huh?
We're talking about how to pay for this, but go ahead.
Somebody's got to hit the line.
I was just telling, I was just asking him, there was that education facility impact study that they do. There's some companies that have done these recently, like how would we go about, engaging there, start discussing something like that, just to know what that study could do for our school system. I would like to have us start discussing that, and have open discussion around it, and maybe consider going out there and hiring one of these companies that actually did the impact study. So we can start thinking about some of these things down the road. I want to leave it in a better place than where we're at. And unfortunately, we're going like this fast, really fast.
Don't worry about it. Well, apparently we've got a new commissioner of education for the country that may be pro-voucher. And I've seen, well, at least one of our state representatives in the papers, they're pro-vouchers. Could that be a game changer down the road? Could we be looking at 10 years now, a whole bunch of private schools taking our vouchers and tax money, and we have empty classrooms?
That's a crystal ball, I cannot.
I know, that worries me. We're spending hundreds of millions of dollars for something that could potentially become antiquated, depending on the political winds where they blow, and they're blowing every which way these days. Sorry, I'm getting off course. So we've got a motion to approve the high school and a second. There's no further discussion. Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Kind of following up on the walking tracks, Miss Jenna Stitzel, who is our coordinated school health person, she's a little over $1 million in getting grants for these walking tracks and stuff right now. So that was the one that was being referenced so far. So that's been good money to get.
We appreciate the efforts on that. Debt service fund budget amendment and presentation of cash flow schedule. Ms. Nolan, that sounds like something you're going to do.
It is.
Talk to you.
Okay.
You ready?
Quicker the better.
Okay. Okay. All right, the first amendment that we've got is the results from the refunding and the borrowing that we did in August and September. This adjusts our books to all the activity that really happened. The net effect was increased to the assigned fund balance for debt service of $1,023,936.
Largely due to the refunding.
That's the refunding
Maybe
one.
exclusively due to that.
There's 2 cents right there. Close to it.
Okay, should we do both of them? I do the second one too.
If there's no objection, we'll do them both, and we'll vote on both at once.
Okay, the second amendment is what we talked to about earlier, is the adjusting the revenue estimate for the development tax to both. I've got the other one coming for the general fund and the debt service fund. I was trying to get to a better assigned for debt service fund balance and estimates, just these things that we know. So we're estimating another $1 million of development tax for the rest of the year. You can see we've already increased, over above what we had. This assumes that we'll have $83,000 per month for the next end of year for both. That's the estimate, to put in $1 million for both this one and the general fund. Looking back in history, we'll probably make it. If we don't, it's okay.
And the purpose of this amendment is to make sure the extra development tax dollars go into the debt service
Well,
fund.
what my whole reasoning for doing this is, it's going to go there anyway, but the reasoning is to try to get a better ending assigned fund balance for debt service, so that when we talk about the projections, we've got a better beginning number.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve that, both of those.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Baum. Commissioner P?
You're talking about, because half that 1 million will automatically go to
Well,
debt service.
it's 2 million that we're
It's 2 million.
increasing.
Right.
You know, 1 million here and 1 million debt service, 1 million general fund.
This is just changing our budgetary numbers,
Right.
so it's not
Usually I
actually
wouldn't-
spending any more
no,
money.
we're
It's
not
just-
spending any.
It's just recognized it now, so we'll be looking at realistic numbers as we're going forward with our
Right,
budget.
right. And usually,
Instead of saying, I think this will come in above
Right.
that,
But
we've got
that
harder numbers.
Usually
money
we do
is
this-
available for debt.
yes, yes. Usually we do this in June, but because of talking about the funding of the school, I wanted a better number for you to look at, you know, on that beginning, fund balance for debt service.
I think this is helpful.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Also the cash flow, just to
The ca-
recognize that.
Yeah,
Oh.
well, I mean, they really don't need a,
Doesn't need to be in the motion, but
right.
just want to make sure we recognize it.
Yeah, because of the 3-star program, we have to look at the cash flow statement for debt service, and that's what this is presented. And what I'm just presenting here is kind of what we budgeted for the year, starting with the original budget and the debt service, and it's basically to show that we can pay our bills as they come due. And you can see we have pretty large payments in September, well, October 1 and April 1, but the expenses really kind of show in the previous months.
All right, well, we have a motion and a second to approve, and we've all looked at page 3, the cash flow analysis to meet our 3-star requirement. So call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P? Yes. Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Let's see, we've done the highway department, general fund budget amendment for development tax.
And this is the same thing.
Same thing.
Same thing.
It's the other half.
Okay. You know, okay, this takes in consideration of the $205,000 request from property management to purchase some property at Singer Road. Is it 0.7 acres?
Yes.
Yes.
Because we don't actually have a final contract on that yet.
Have we heard, we haven't heard back from him yet?
I made a proposal and made the offer, and he's accepted our offer, but it's contingent on due diligence and environmental study, et cetera.
Okay, good.
So when I prepared this, when I had read property management's minutes about, but that's why that's included in here.
Yeah, they just authorized us to make this offer. We'll have to still come back for approval to actually buy it.
That's really a non-issue down here. That's something that'll come back to us.
It'll have to come back.
Well, why don't we hold on this one then?
Yeah, I think we probably need to.
Let's hold on, because I had it folded in that 205,000. Or I could just increase that.
You could just increase the
The
million
res-
and take the 205
I'll
and
take
get
the
this out of it.
205 out and move that down to restricted.
We just move
Already
the
did.
million, and we'll talk about 205 when that comes
Yeah,
back.
yeah, that's fine. I was getting ahead.
Be the other half of what we
Right.
just did a minute ago for the,
So if the amendment can be that we're going to recognize an additional $1 million for the development tax in the general fund and trustees commission of $10,000. We'll fix the amendment to where it looks right. Sorry. I forgot
Tony
about
put
that
it there, and just have to take that? All right, do we have a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Kaplan. Well, we're gaining revenue, people. I'll be using that spokesperson, so. Need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Field. This is actually good news. This might be bad news in a roundabout way. That means more people are moving here. They're paying more development tax.
That's what development tax, when
Yeah.
it comes in, it's more bodies.
Yeah, more kids. No more questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes. General fund budget amendment for health insurance.
Okay, this is the cleanup that we do in February, and it's now just looking at where everybody has landed and what their insurance, different things that they choose. So estimating that out for the rest of the year. These are the ones that potentially will be short. We do budget a pot of money for this purpose. So at this date, we'll need $33,050 out of the pooled amount to go. $1,210 for county attorney, $5,250 for election commission, $5,305 for accounting and budget, $5,095 for other administration of justice, $2,780 for probation services, $2,975 for victim assistance, $7,270 for ag extension, and $3,165 for soil conservation.
Well, the committee.
Second.
Commissioner Key, do you make that motion? Commissioner Baum? No further questions? Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Solid Waste Fund Budget Amendment for Health Insurance.
It's
More of the
same thing. It's crossing categories this time, though. We'll be decreasing the convenience center insurance, $32.10, and moving it to the landfill operations, $32.10.
Motion to approve the request.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. Commissioner Jernigan? Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan?
Yes.
Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Additional funds for home grant. Ms. Nolan, you handling that, or?
I can. This is additional funds that is come available from
Another governmental entity.
another governmental entity. And what is it, $2,585 that could roll into our existing home grant.
I'm going to just abstain from voting, just since I work daily with Tennessee Housing Development Authority. Even though we're accepting money, it would make me feel good, so that's what I'll do.
We have a motion on this.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
I'll add a second to that. This is money that's given to us by the state, so.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, some that another municipality couldn't spend, so they're giving it to us to spend.
Do we generally use all this money to people in the county use it?
Yes.
We'll actually be
It runs
just
out.
about this short on projects we've already got set up to finish it out for the year.
We got some a while back from another municipality.
210,000. Back in March of 2015.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaplan? Commissioner P?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. We've got the presentation of debt management policy for the 3-star program.
And there's our debt management policy. Last time we changed it was April 17th, 2014. We're not proposing any changes. We just have to present that to you and let you read that at your leisure. No action is required.
Just not at this point in time.
I know you're tired, but yes, I want to go through that.
You want to go through this?
Yes.
Okay, because I've been laying here and I think you need to.
Okay.
Yes.
All those amendments and discussion that we were talking this morning, today, this is in front of you. It's just a little history lesson, kind of get us back to speed of what all we've done this year. This front page that's labeled A is what our outstanding debt was at the beginning of this fiscal year. It was $331 million. We issued $126,640,000, with that $25.6 million being that refunding, and then $101 million for all those judicial building
And the school.
in schools. We did have a $10 or $11 million premium on top of that. So that's just kind of gets you where we are. So we're projecting at June 30th, because we're not expecting to do any more debt, that our outstanding principal balance is $402,480. That's paid through.
A million is a...
70. 70 million.
402 million.
Yeah, we've netted 70 million. Well,
402 million.
it's right down the street. The bulk of it.
It was dollar for dollar.
Yes, okay. So what Director Odom was speaking to is how much, I'm on B now, I'm flip the page. this is how our scheduled debt to be paid off, our principal and interest. So you can see how much principal we're paying off every year. We're scheduled to pay off $28 million in this fiscal year. Going to the cross adds the interest requirements. So you can see, you can just look down and see how our debt rolls off. Each year, how the debt rolls off. Okay.
If we don't keep
If we don't build
If you don't build anything, that's the thing.
September doesn't come around.
Right. So I'm just, this, number one, starting this page that's titled Capital Projects 216B, this is what we borrowed for, which was just the planning of David Urey, Rocky Fork, part of Smyrna Middle. You start getting into some of the other things, and I don't know if you're like me, but it's like, what did we do? So I needed the refresher as well. So on page 2, this kind of tells us what happened and what's going on. If y'all remember in August, when we first came back after break, the school transferred $11 million from their unassigned fund balance to the Capitol building. And we used, right off the bat, because of the Rocky Fork Middle costs were higher, they transferred $5 million, almost $5.5 million to that program, to that school. That left $5.5 million. Now, what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that is shared money, and so we do keep up with what's shared and what's not, so that when we borrow, we only borrowing for the schools that we don't have to share the money to reduce our borrowing cost. Okay, so this is what I was saying. How much do we need to borrow? We needed you approved in September $1,962,000 for the what was that?
Rockville High School.
I know it's Rockville High School. Is that the architect? Thank you. Also $15,000 for design of the high school restrooms and concessions. $15,000. There was also some cleanup, some additional funds that was needed for Smyrna Middle, and we split it out between what would be shared and what would not be shared. And then we also had $73,000 of some other cleanup amendments for projects. So at the bottom of that $11 million, there's $3,707,000 available that we're really kind of using until we go borrow for those high school projects. So I have, these are my two, like, what are we going to do with this option land? You also approved on the back the David Urey. So right here, you approved the David Urey edition of $2,935. Okay, so that $3.7 million could be used to cover that. The way that resolution was structured is that it would be done in a future bond period, but we may be able to use that money to cover that and not have to borrow it. Or the Rocky Fork Elementary, it's $30,247,000. We've already previously funded $3,145,000, and less the shared. If you use those monies for that, then you'd only need to borrow $23,394,000. So that's kind of what we've done with the $11 million. So then this page 3, I was trying to structure, what is it, how much are we going to have to borrow? So I had the David Urey in there, but if you choose to not do the elementary school and use that other money for that, you could drop that out. There's the high schools, the restroom, Smyrna Middle renovations, all those things that were on the other page. That totals $63 million. You do all that plus Rocky Fork, we're talking about $91 million. If you were going to do all of those projects, you're at $91 million. Of course, my numbers include the estimate of what we would have to borrow for these elementary schools that you'd have to share to the city. So that's why my numbers are going to be higher than what they present. Now the next page is starting with 4 are those things that you're used to seeing. There's the revenue, and again, growth factor at 3%. That changes if the growth factor of the value of the penny increases. That just means more revenue. But this at least gives you a kind of a standing point. Page 5 wraps in the existing debt we have, this, I've folded in those refund adjustments, the $1 million extra for the development tax, projecting that we will start the year, or end the year with a $38 million fund balance. That's our current, that's just with our current debt. So page 6.
And it grows each year if we didn't incur any more debt.
Oh, yeah,
The fund balance just goes
we
on
would
and
have
on
so
and on.
much money. We'd be moving that money somewhere else. So this is when you start adding. Page 6 starts, if you look in the center, this is estimating for every $1 million of money we borrow, debt service at $69,000, that's between 3 and 4%, or 3.5.
This, you got that 69,000 at the top, and then you got 65 plus 27.
Okay, so 69 is the debt service per $1 million.
Oh, okay, that's all that is.
Yes,
And you're
so-
borrowing 65
And 27.
and then 27 next year.
And just
Okay.
looking at and say, what if we did? How would our requirements look?
And you, yeah.
And so doing the 65 and the 27. Now, all this is predicated on, in reappraisal year, you don't change the pennies if we, right. I mean,
Well, we've always gone a certified rate.
Certified rates,
But-
keep it.
2006.
This is all predicated on leaving the tax rate where it is,
yes.
which is unrealistic.
Well, but here's my offset on that. I've said 3%, and you could have 10% growth in the penny, too. You see what I'm saying? So it would offset. I think I've got enough, there's some cushion there.
Well, we always go in, we've got the reappraisal, and there's some growth money, so we, at least since I've been here, every year but one, we've gone back to certified rate. That way that year we didn't leave it where it was, we didn't quite go back to certified rate.
Yeah.
Left a penny off. Yeah, we went up 9 cents that
We
year.
did one year, we increased 9 cents. So I just throw that out there.
Did you see Metro? Their average is, 35% on the reappraisals they did. The highest district is the way they broke it up that I saw, and it was like 57 or 58% in a 4-year time. There were
Property values?
Property
Yep.
values, yeah.
They're not going to raise the rate, which means several people are going to get a lot more tax bill
And so,
and several a lot less.
Well, and you've got, the big problem you've got up there right now is you'll have a street with 2 brand new, and then you got one lady who doesn't want to sell, and the poor old lady's tax rate compared to the
yeah.
portion of that.
She's sitting beside a $2 million house, and they're taxing her $15,000 a year, and she's on a fixed income, may not be bringing in much more than that.
Right.
You know. She could sell,
And make $1 million.
but people don't always want to sell.
My end of my, and then on the left, let's see, was it page 6? Yeah, 6 and 7 are just, what if you borrow it? What did it look like if you did it all in the first year? What would it look like?
So in 15, Rutherford County values were up 7.5%, and in 16, we were up almost 12%. When does this factor in on our next appraisal what the approximate average appreciation would be?
This, when you go back to the pages, the penny, what does the penny do? That's what I was trying to, my counter, Commissioner Jordan, is that, no, we will never, we will not go to the
She's just got a
rate.
3% growth factor on
Yeah.
the penny, period.
Yeah.
That's what she's saying it's going to do.
But in reality, that penny is probably going to be 10 or 15% more.
Right.
Yeah. But y'all won't keep
But
the
we'll,
pennies.
but we'll have
It'll
the
roll back.
certified tax rate there and the other rate. And if you don't go back to that tax rate, that is interpreted as a tax increase. Basically is a tax increase, it's absolutely.
But you can't have a $200,000 home worth $240,000 now and not expect your taxes to go up.
Oh, people do.
Oh, they,
They do.
Okay.
If everybody owned the
Yeah.
200, if all else was equal and everybody went up 40,000, and you took that back to certified, you'd pay the same taxes, total dollars.
Yeah, no, people do not want to pay a penny more in taxes. They'll say, what my house is worth is zero.
I think-
I'm not
Did
selling
Mr.
it.
Bonner do that, and people just about came down and...
He's not our property assessor anymore.
But you guys are the one that, you're the one that set the rate.
yeah.
Okay.
Go in when, after the reappraisal's done in 18.
Right.
Just go in when they start having calls come in for anybody that wants to come
That's a reappraisal.
for the
It's
board.
in 2018.
So it's not this year, but
It's
next
next year,
Okay.
for the 18-19. This
June
year.
19 will be a very good year.
Yeah. So end of my story is with y'all putting the extra 2 cents in there, the development tax really coming in, you've positioned this fund very well to take care of this high school.
We got a couple of years on the second, well, both of these projections that there's a deficiency, but we're still far ahead of our 65% requirement.
Yeah.
On balance is above where it needs to be. And again, this takes into account the additional development tax revenue that we're
That
projecting.
1 million.
That we just
Yes.
recognized.
Yes, and I tell you what now, and I'm glad you said that, if you go to page 4, this assumes you're gonna get $4 million a year in development tax for the next few years too.
Which, don't you feel like your next couple of years looks a little conservative, but then you might have years that it's flattening, it'll flatten out? That looks pretty conservative.
It is.
Okay.
I'm glad we moved those pennies into this account so we can build this high school.
I think you could have done it without the 2 cents, but that's another story.
He wants to take credit for that.
Okay, now thanks for indulging me. I just wanted to catch y'all back up on what all we've done.
Is that all you got? Anything else come for us tonight?
I'm just glad I'm retired. I can sleep in the morning if I decide
Well, if anybody gives criticism for some of these 30-minute meetings we have every now and then, they all average out. So with that, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.